Subprime loans are back.
What the hell is going on? Americans can't afford nothing. What are we teaching our kids in school? To be quiet and sit still? They're not learning anything.
It's horrific. They don't know what continent they're on.
I'm not a Trump guy. People are like, oh, so Biden, like, I don't like that dude. I'd rather see you in the White House. But what about his criminal? I don't care, bro. Let's get dude a shot. You know what I mean? At least he knows numbers, man. Like, let's get dude a shot, man. My name is Don Lewis, man. I'm known in the YouTube streets as DL Saint. I'm a retired air traffic controller. Before that, I was a soldier. I was a hustler. I was all these kind of things that comes with growing up the way we grew up, man. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. My mom and dad were never married, but they were both in my life. So I would spend time with mom, spend time with dad. Never had that, that nuclear family kind of thing.
Right.
Come from a family, just a cool family, like on both sides. My cousins and everything was my life. That's where I got all my love. That's where I got all my protection. That's where I learned everything. So, being in the streets, someone would have pick on me. I got cousins. We come look for you. Like, what? And my cousins are like, nah, you're not going to run away from this. You're not going to go home and tell your mama. You're going to go over here. Where you at? Come on, we go over here and deal with this. So, I look back on that fondly. And that helped me, that set me up for the things that I would encounter later on in life. And before we go any further, man, I just want to thank you very much for having me on this, joint. Man. I appreciate
you coming.
This is cool, man. This is cool. So, when I was 17 years old, senior in high school, 17, 18 years old, I enlisted in the United States Army. Although I was a high school senior, they had a program that was called delayed entry. So you can actually enlist in the military, and then you do your last year of high school. Once you get your diploma, then off you go to whatever branch you enlisted in.
Right.
So I was in that program. 1990, I graduated from high school. And I'd always wanted to be a soldier. That was my thing. Even when I was a little kid, everyone who knew me, he's going to be an Army man. I used to run around in the woods and have sticks like they were my little guns and play G.I. Joe and all that, man. Jumping off of everything I could get, climb onto trees, garages, rooftops. I get up there, I'm jumping off, right? I wanted a maroon beret and jump boots. That was my thing. So that's what I did. I joined the Army, enlisted as a paratrooper, and I was, ready to do my thing. People were like, oh, are you just patriotic, want to serve your country? Like, nah, I wanted to get out the hood. People were dying. I wanted to go where I could get trained and maybe have a better chance of surviving,
Right.
And so I'm sitting there. It's like, you got to choose a job. It's like MOS, a job. What job are you going to do? I'm like, well, I want to be airborne. So I told the recruiter, I want to be airborne. I want to be a paratrooper. I want to jump out of planes. He was like, all right, that's the qualification, but, what job do you want? I'm like, well, that sounds like a job to me, bro. Jumping out of airplanes, going to kill the bad guys.
Can't do that 40 hours a week.
Yeah, you can. I guess some people who do, but I was like, and they're called infantry. But I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, they were like, what job do you want? Like, I don't know. My dad was in the Army. He was an MP. I want to be a military policeman. Great. We can get you that. No problem. But we can't guarantee you airborne training. Can't guarantee you can go to airborne school. And recruiters and people have told me, like, whatever you do in the Army, and this is for everyone out there, you guys out there, you enlisted in the military, get it in writing. Get it in writing. You know what I mean? Because they'll promise you the world. So the Army guarantees training and all that stuff. The Marine Corps does it. I don't think the Air Force and Navy does, but the Army does. So the recruiter was like, oh, we can get you an MP, and then once you get in, just tell them you want to go to airborne school, and they'll hook you up. They'll send you. I'm like, nah. They already told me about that trick. Nope. I need to guarantee it. And so they're like, I can't guarantee it with military police. I can't do it. So I'm sitting there like, well, I'm looking at, they got posters everywhere, man. They got these posters, these guys sitting in a helicopter. They got all their weapons, camo up and everything. They're all smiling like, this is great. And it's like 11B, 11 Bravo. That's infantry. Those are the guys who kill 24/7. That's all they do. They go out in the woods, they find an enemy, and they kill them. Shit, they deal with their weapons. And I'm looking at that, and I'm like, man, 11 Bravo. I mean, I know I get airborne with that. And as I'm literally about to say, hey, I want to do that. And the recruiter says, hey, you want to be an air traffic controller? I'm a kid from Cincinnati, man, public school education. I'm, air traffic control. I'm like, the guys in the tower? He's like, yeah. I'm like, does the Army have that? He's like, yeah, I'm looking at it. Air traffic control specialist, tower operator, radar. You scored high enough on your test. You qualify for this. Like, can I go to airborne school? It's like, yeah, I can get you airborne with this. 93 Charlie. You know what I mean? 93C, that was your job. Okay, I want to do that. So bam, I get it. Sign my contract. United States Army, be an air traffic controller, but I'm going to be a paratrooper. All right, life is good. All I got to do now is graduate. Right? That's all I got to do. Graduate, I have no criminal records, no, nothing on paper as far as law enforcement goes. Like, I'm cool. Man, that last 12 months was hard, bro. It was hard. It was hard. I don't know. It was just every situation seemed to come up, bro. Fights. You know what I mean? Let's go get this person. Let's go get that person. That's when the drug trade was really starting to hit, right? We're talking about 1989, 1990. Crack. Go back, young people. Go back and watch the news footage from back then. That's when the crack epidemic was a thing.
Right.
And even the police at the time didn't really know what crack was. So dudes were out there just killing it, getting money. And I'm right there. Again, my people, my dudes are doing whatever. I'm working at a restaurant and going to school and trying to keep my nose clean. Luckily, nothing bad happened. I didn't get caught doing anything. June rolled around, 1990, got into the Army, sent me off to basic training, sent me off to my advanced training. So basic training was in New Jersey, Fort Dix. They call it Fort Disneyland. I got lucky. That's like the easiest basic training to go to. Advanced training was in Alabama, Fort Rucker. To be an air traffic controller, I was there for a while. It was tough. That was tough. Academically, it was something, and everything's condensed. And the way the Army does it, you take a test, it's pass fail. Ain't none of this curve stuff. It's go or no go. That's how they say it in the Army. You're go or no go, and you got one retest. So if you take a test, you fail it, you get one retest. If you fail that, you're out. You're out of that program, and they can put you in any job they want to put you in. So that voids out your contract. They won't kick you out the Army, but you're no longer going to be an air traffic controller or a military policeman or, X-ray tech, whatever you signed up for.
They're going to send you somewhere?
Wherever they need you, right? 1990, what was going on in 1990? Desert Storm, right? We just kicked it off. Like Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait. America was gearing up for war. So at Fort Rucker, if you failed out of the air traffic control program, well, that's the home of Army aviation. They were telling us, like, if you fail out of this, they're going to send you to door gunner school. And they're going to send you off the war. You're just going to be the guy hanging out the helicopter shooting at M60. Like, door gunner school? They're like, hey, bro, you better study. So I had to take through the whole process. Every week you take a test. They train you. You learn this stuff. You take a test. Twice I failed, and I had to do a retest. But that was it.
I thought you said you could only fail once.
Per week. So every test.
Okay, well, I was like, Jesus.
Per week. So every, you get, if you fail a test, you can take a retest.
Okay.
Every week you take a retest. So if you fail twice on that week, that's it, you're out. But in theory, you can take that test twice every week throughout the whole program.
Okay.
Like maybe 12 weeks that we were there or something like that. So I failed one of the tests because I was, not studying. And I was like, okay. And then towards the end, it was a really tough test. It was an FAA exam. And I had to take that over. But the rest of it, I was good. Made it. Cool. After that, it's airborne school, Fort Benning, Georgia. It's where you learn how to jump out of airplanes, right? Mm-hmm. This is where the Brothers Easy Company, that band of brothers and all that, I believe they went through Fort Benning. But that's the home of airborne for the United States military. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and now the Space Corps, Space Force, whatever they do. If they get wings, they go to airborne school, that's the Army. So that's a 3-week course. And at the end of the 3 weeks, you pass that, you earn your wings. And for me, that was it. I was like, I've accomplished my dreams. As a little kid, I wanted to be a paratrooper.
All right.
I'm a paratrooper. Then they send you to your unit. And I got to my unit. It's Fort Bragg, North Carolina. It's home of the airborne. It's where the Green Berets are. That's where Delta Force, which doesn't exist, but that's where they are. They got a compound. I know where it is, right? That's where the real ghosts live. Like, you hear about these stories of these guys that walk around and nobody knows and they're off doing whatever. That's real. Those dudes do exist. They're ghosts. They just walk around. I remember once I was at some ceremony, bunch of brass, like top brass, generals, lieutenant colonels, colonels, a couple 3-star generals, a couple 2-star generals. And this guy walks up to one of the generals, and this guy had a beard. Now y'all see soldiers and SEALs and all that with beards, but back then, everyone was clean shaven. This guy walks up, he has a beard, his uniform, and the only thing on his uniform, it was just us Army, just the U.S. Army, no name tag, no nothing, just walking around in BDUs. He walks up to the general, and the general got nervous. First time I ever saw a general nervous. This guy was just nervous. And I was asking my buddy, like, what's the deal? He was like, that's a ghost. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, that guy right there, he doesn't exist. And the general was nervous. Like, well, he's going to do something to the generals? Like, nah, it's just those guys make these generals nervous. So I saw that with my own eyes. I'm like, damn, there's a lot going on in Fort Bragg. You know, there's a lot of people doing America's business down there at Fort Bragg. Y'all want to know what it means to be free? Them boys know what it means to be free, and women too. So women down there doing some hardcore stuff. So I'm at my unit. It's 1991. My training took me through the end of the year, so I went home for like a week, came back. It's like January. And we're standing in this big formation at the replacement. It's what's called a replacement companies, where all the people come in and then they send you off to your real unit. They kind of come over here and then, okay, who are you? All right, you're going to this unit. You're going to Bravo Company. You're going to Alpha Company. You're going to whatever, Echo Company. So we're standing there. There's, 200 people in this formation. We know the air war had just begun and was about to begin. It hadn't begun yet, but we knew, like, we were deploying, people were going. And they call out maybe 25 names, 30 names. If you hear your name, fall out and fall in over here. So, a handful of us came out the big formation. We're making a little formation over here. We're standing there. We're looking at the big formation. We know the war is popping off. We're like, oh, them poor bastards over there, man, they're going to war. Ha ha, pointing at them and stuff like that. Ha ha. So they turn around to the big formation, tell them to fall out, and tell them what to do, go to the barracks, do this, da, da, da. Then they came back over to us. All right, you lucky motherfuckers, guess where you're going? That's right, you got the winning ticket. You guys are going to Iraq. Like, what? We are going to Saudi Arabia to stop the Iraqis, and you're going to be at the tip of the spear. Airborne? And we're all like, airborne, trying to be all hood. Oh, yeah, hood. So, yeah, that was it. 6 days later, they gave me a bunch of shots over a 6-day period, did a bunch of paperwork, and they sent us off to Georgia, I forget where they sent, back to Fort Benning in Georgia. And from there, we got all of our equipment. They put us on a plane and flew us over to Saudi Arabia. And that was it. That was the start of my first duty assignment. My unit was already gone. They were in country. So that's why they called us out. We were the guys whose units were already forward, and we had to go join our units. And everyone else was just kicking it in the rear with the gear, never left the States. Wartime, Fort Bragg, they just back there smashing all the soldiers' wives who were all fighting the war. That's just how it works. Even though it's illegal, it's against military rules. UCMJ, the Uniform Code of Military Justice, if you get caught, messing around with your wife, you can, get in trouble, get court-martialed. But that didn't stop people from, doing what they do. So yeah, man, that was it. I went to war, we came home, after that, and I did some other stuff, did some other missions,
What did you do when you said you got to Saudi Arabia. Did you ever go into Iraq?
We never went to Iraq. I got to Saudi Arabia, King 5 military complex. That's where we landed in. From there, they put us on a C-130 to send us to, we had to go, our unit was just outside of Rafah. So we had to go join our unit. Big aviation element, right? So we had our Apaches, Black Hawk, Chinooks.
I was gonna say, why weren't you a air traffic controller there? Like they need air traffic controllers to tell to track and tell where the Black Hawks are going and where where everything's going.
Right. So there's politics and everything, right? So you got a big old war and everybody wants a piece of it. Every branch, right? So the Air Force got all the high speed, nice toys. You got the F-18s, F-16s, F-14s, wherever they were flying them days, right? So the Air Force was the command element for air traffic control.
Okay.
Army was like, well, we got our helicopters. We want Army controllers to control our helicopters. So I went to airborne school. I am a tactical soldier. Those air traffic controllers who didn't go to airborne school, those guys I went air traffic control school with, they went to fixed facilities and wore nice suits. They got clean, pressed uniforms and worked a 9 to 5 or whatever. They were doing that. Me, I'm running around in the woods, you know what I mean, sneaking up on my food. Yeah, hood. That's what I signed up for. All the way, you know what I mean? So I'm not crying about it. But the air traffic missions went to the Air Force first, and then, it would go to Marines would control Marines normally, Army would control Army, and so on and so forth. So it took a year and a half before I actually began to do any air traffic. I was a very highly skilled, overtrained, and grunt, basically. I was still that we went out with the 11 Bravo guys I was telling you about.
Right.
When they went somewhere, when they jumped somewhere, we jumped with them. So I'm like, damn, I still wind up being an 11 Bravo. I'm just not even getting the cool stuff that they get, because they get like cool medals and whatever. I couldn't even get none of that. So to answer your question, the Air Force was handling that. They had specialized special forces. Air Force has combat control teams. I don't know what they're called now, but back then they were CCT, combat control teams. Well, we did the same job, but we weren't considered special forces. They got to train with Green Berets, Rangers, and all this kind of stuff. They got that kind of training. They got all the equipment. They got all the cool guns. They, all the good stuff. You guys are just paratroopers, and we get like Air Force leftover radios and stuff like that. But we had cool radios. We had cool vehicles, Humvees. So whenever we went somewhere, they would make us go with the command element so we could talk on any radio to whoever.
Right.
We did that. And then we had smaller tactical teams. Our TAC teams, 4-man teams, maybe 6-man teams, depending on the mission. We would go out and go forward and just do like sneak and peek kind of things. And we had one mission we were known for. It's called a beacon.
Y'all heard.
Yeah, okay. You know what it is. So the beacon mission was our bread and butter. We would go up and set up a non-directional beacon. And the whole purpose of that is if the enemy is there, we need to get a fix so our aircraft or whoever's trying to get in there know where they are and they can get one last bearing to go hit their target. That beacon would be that fix. So we would jump in or drive in or walk in or whatever we had to do, set up that beacon and turn it on at the prescribed time. Our air elements are like, okay, we got the beacon here. We know where we got to go. We fly this radio off this beacon that's going to take us to the bad guys. That's the mission. Downside to that is if the enemy is ready, we turn on that equipment, they can triangulate our position in a matter of minutes, right, and just blow everything up. So it was one of those things, we turn that thing on and just run like hell. Like we know we got to get out of this grid because, incoming is going to hit us. So as a tactical controller, that's what I was doing. I wasn't in the tower. I wasn't in the radar. I was training to do all this stuff. I was in a motor pool. I'm working on trucks. I'm doing all this kind of stuff. Tactical ATC, Army Air Traffic Control, stands for Army Trucking Company, because that's all we did. We just trucked our equipment all over the world. We had like portable radars, we had portable towers, but our mission was just to put our stuff on our back, and go do whatever we got to do and then come on home. Support whoever we got to support and come on home. It was fun. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. It hurts. I still hurt to this day. I was young. I'm gonna live forever. This ain't gonna hurt me at all, man. I'm in pain right now. Just so you know.
So how long did you stay in the Army?
I just did 4 years.
Okay.
Did 4 years. I realized, like, man, this isn't, back then, we didn't get paid a lot. Now, they get paid pretty good, and they have a lot of benefits and stuff now. Right. But back then, at my peak, financially, I was making $1,041 a month. That included jump pay. That included extra $110 hazardous duty pay. Say, you're going to pay you an extra $110 to jump out of airplanes. It's like, yeah, but I could die over $110, you know? But $1,041 is what I was making after 4 years in the Army. I'm like, this isn't enough to risk my life every day. It was cool. I'm glad I did it. It was cool. It was high speed. I got to do some cool stuff and work with some really cool people. I've worked with, Army Green Berets, Army Special Forces like Rangers, tabs and scrolls. That means something to them Army guys. They know what I'm talking about. I've worked with Turkish troops, man, French Foreign Legionnaires, French soldiers, British soldiers, well, Scottish Dragoons, I think they were, Korean soldiers. We work with the best from all over the world. And I'm here to tell y'all, America, real talk, the United States military is the best fighting force the world has ever known. Hands down. No one's even close. People from other countries come to America just to serve in our military so they can go back home and be successful. So I really enjoyed it. You know, 4 years was enough for me. I knew if I re-enlisted, I would just like, well, I might as well go to retirement. If I do 8, you know what I mean, I might as well another 16 to get to retirement.
Right.
You know, if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. And if I re-enlisted, I would have gone and done some real hood stuff. You know, high speed stuff. Like, all right, I'm gonna go to Ranger school. I'm gonna go to Pathfinder school. I'm gonna do all this. So I didn't re-enlist. I got out. I went home. Back to the streets.
I was gonna say, it's funny. I saw a TikTok the other day. They were interviewing a British soldier, and he said, I don't know what war he was at or where he served, but he said he was assigned to some, you know, whatever platoon or whatever it was he was assigned to. They were like, you better hope Americans they've embedded some Americans with you, and he was like, why? He said, because when we get into trouble, they tell us to hunker down. They tell us to wait for them. They tell us they're going to send something. He said, then they have to go get permission. They have to get like the British had to do. There was all these procedures before they would send something. He said, the moment if you're with an American calls in and says, we're in trouble, send people now. He said, everybody shifts gears and starts heading that way. And on their way there, they start getting the location. He said a completely different. He said, your guys are going to be there in 10, 15, 20 minutes. He said, it could be hours before before the British show up. He said, if at all. Sometimes they'll just say, look, you're just going to have to work it out. We don't have anybody to send. We don't have this. He said, you better hope there's some Americans with you because they'll send people immediately.
Yeah, America doesn't mess around. I know we can curse on here sometimes, but I'm trying to keep it clean. But, you know, America doesn't fuck about, bro. Like, if soldiers need help, they're going to get that help. Generally speaking, sometimes you have the A teams like Green Berets who are so embedded in wherever they are. Green Berets are trained; they're on their own. Yeah.
There's nothing. There's like we could send somebody, but it's going to be a day
at least.
Yeah,
it's so remote,
right?
So, but for the average soldier, if you're out somewhere, you know, you take on some fire. All you gotta do is get on the radio. I know for most units, especially infantry units in the Army, they have Air Force tactical guys with them. And the Air Force guys will get on the horn and call in the A-10. So like we're getting taking fire from a village or whatever. They call in the A-10. The A-10s come in there and just scare the hell out of whoever's there. They'll come in, turn on that big gun of theirs, that brrr, and the bad guys go running away, bro. You know, and if they see the bad guys, those A-10 drivers go get them. It's like a tank in the sky.
Those things have been flying forever.
And they're going to keep them flying, bro.
I mean, I watched a thing on it where they were like, listen, that's a fixed wing, straight wing, fixed wing. And they were I was watching a whole thing on, they were like, listen, there's not a more productive, destructive, airplane, in the military for that inexpensive. Yeah. Like it's built. The whole thing's built just around that Gatling gun.
Yes,
right? It's a Gatling gun, right?
That's what that is. Yes, the whole they had a gun. Like, we build an airplane around this gun, and that's what they did.
And it destroys everything.
Everything it sees. It is one of the most effective weapon systems on today's battlefield.
I think for like 50 years,
bro. Look at the B-52s.
Yeah. When they keep updating those,
right? They're gonna keep upgrading the A-10s. You know, and for everything that we see, ladies and gentlemen, out there in the world, for everything you see on TV, there's shit that we have in our inventory that is just like, you know, some Korean. There's a YouTube video out there where they were showing military capabilities to South Korean soldiers. Maybe it was North Korean soldiers, but it was Korean soldiers. And the guys were looking at the video and looking at what America could do, and they were like, you know, in Korean, they're like, I think America could fight aliens. That's just looking at the tech, like, I think America could fight aliens. So the technology that they showed us in 1993, we were with some Green Berets. They were just out showing us some stuff, right? It was a SEER school, going through some training. And they brought in like their future soldier. The gear that guy was wearing, I still haven't seen in today's real world activities. So just imagine that was super high tech in 1993. I still haven't seen it. So imagine what we have we haven't even released yet. So for those of you who say Russia could beat America or Ukraine with America backing them, man, you high, bro.
I love that senator. I forget which senator it was. He said prior to the invasion of Ukraine. He said Russia was the second most powerful military in the world. He said now they invaded Ukraine. We now know they're the second most powerful military in Ukraine.
In Ukraine.
Yeah.
Facts.
Yeah. I mean, the problem is, and I know this based on my vast experience watching YouTube videos, is that, and it's funny too, because I always argue with my buddy John, this guy Bozak, we're always arguing. He's like, I'm telling you the Chinese are going to invade Taiwan. I was like, yeah, but if they don't have that whole fucking island taken in 3 days, I said, they're going to have a major problem because by that point, the U.S. Navy's shown up. I said, you have to understand that Russia's designed to move their entire army around Russia.
Yep.
On rail. That's it. I said, the United States is one of the, if not the only military in the world that has the ability to pick up their entire army and move it across the world, where most countries, China can't move their military across a little canal,
right?
To get into Taiwan. So, we're the only ones that have the capability of moving, everything from tanks to armored personnel carriers to your entire military. Britain it would take Britain months to get their military out of Britain.
Yeah,
just across the channel,
just to get into France,
right? So even when they were a part of the D-Day invasion, we're the ones that brought the equipment to get them across. And to this day, most militaries, are they powerful? Yes, as long as you try and invade them, but they can't leave. They're not gonna. They can maybe fight off other countries that are trying to invade them, but they don't have the ability to pick their military up and move it across the world and land in Africa and start taking over African countries. There's just no way for that. They don't have the equipment to move themselves. So that's why when he's always like, I'm telling you they're going to invade. I'm like, I don't doubt. Maybe they will invade. I said, but if they don't take that entire island within 3 days, I said they're going to have one hell of a fucking problem.
China doesn't want to smoke. And you say 3 days, and you're right. Here's the thing: when I was as a paratrooper who was on what we call Defense Ready Brigade, DRB. We were the guys, the quick reaction force. We were those guys. Back in the 1990s, the early 90s, the United States military, 18th Airborne Corps, which includes elements of the United States Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marine Corps, 18th Airborne Corps could be anywhere in the world in 18 hours or less. That was in the 90s. You're saying 72 hours. Come on, bro. If we were doing that then in 18 hours, they could probably get anywhere in the world in less than 18 hours now. So
yeah, I'm thinking in a large enough force to push them back out. If they if they were to take it, to be able to push them back off. I don't know how many guys that they can, the military can get there, but they have to be able to go there, and they have to have the power to the firepower too. So I'm thinking the Navy, because the Navy is really extremely destructive. I mean, in my opinion,
you're absolutely right.
Based on YouTube videos, once again,
a carrier strike force. It's massive.
Yeah, those things can take out entire countries. I mean,
yes.
It's amazing if you actually pull up the statistics for how many planes we have compared to just other countries. It's not like there's 3,500 compared to 3,200. It's like there's 3,500 fighter jets compared to 300, 200, 65, 140. It's like the American firepower massively outguns everybody.
Could you imagine 2 squadrons of F-18s flying over Ukraine, hunting whatever the Russians has? You know what I mean? They're Su-21s or whatever. They don't stand a chance.
Right.
And that's just 2 squadrons of F-18s. And we're talking about the Navy. The carrier strike force has Navy guys and Marines. Right? We haven't begun to talk about the Army. We haven't talked about the Air Force. Just that. So, nah, man. It's nah, bro. I mean,
well, that's why Putin's fallback position is always nuclear. Because he can't fight. We can't fight him off. So it's got to. He immediately said, "Well, then we'll go nuclear." Why don't you just bring your Air Force in and fight them? Well, because we don't have a chance.
You don't have a chance, bro. You don't want to see that. I mean, just with the forces that we have in Europe right now is enough to take care of Russia.
Right.
Especially now that we see their true capabilities. And the problem with Russia is so much corruption. So Putin really thought he had an effective fighting force. He really thought that, we're going to be able to take this. In his mind, we'll take Ukraine in an afternoon. Imagine if
bad information.
Yeah. Well, all his guys, when you surround yourself with yes men.
Yeah, that's a mistake.
You know what I mean? So now Putin is like, uh-oh. So imagine I've been talking all this stuff to you, man. I'm going to kick your ass, bro, blah, blah, blah. And then I see how big you are. And I'm fighting some little dude, and I could barely hold on, and I see you standing there. So yeah, I'm gonna go grab the gun. Like, hey, you better back up, bro. That's the nuclear deterrent. He's grabbing that. I'm grabbing the nuke because he's like, man. Now he sees it. Putin ain't stupid. It's like, man, America will mop us, bro.
Did you have you ever seen the? Do you have Netflix?
Yes.
They have a documentary called Turning Point on. It's like 8.
It's in my queue. It's in my queue.
I watched all of them.
Worth watching? Is it good?
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Well, especially for you because not all of it, but for a portion of it, you're like me. Like I can remember all these events. So it's like, yeah, and of course they start at the beginning of the Cold War. Well,
Cuban Missile Crisis, or
no. They go back to right at basically what I said. So basically, it's the Manhattan Project.
Okay.
Now, granted, that's still World War II, but they don't ever focus that much on World War II. They're just, how they got the scientists, what they were doing, how the Soviets were stealing the information, how we thought we were decades ahead of them, and within a few years they've got their own bomb because they'd stole the information. And how we'd stolen the scientists from Germany. We'd gotten some of their German, their scientists, and
not just Germans, Nazis.
Yeah. So and they're bringing them over, but I mean, the Manhattan Project, how that developed, and then the dropping of the bomb. So they go through all that, but then they very quickly get into the 50s, 60s, and then it's duck and cover, which I love. And Colby doesn't know anything about any of this. He didn't even know what duck and cover means.
That's hilarious, bro. You young. And we ain't mad at you, bro. But if a nuclear bomb hits, all you gotta do is get on the table, man. You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
But I mean, they're the bomb shelters in the backyard, like everything. But it goes, and you think combine it's like 8. It's like 8 episodes. It might be more, but it's like 8 episodes, and each episode they're not like 30 minutes. They're like an hour and a half. I mean, this is a massive.
I'm gonna check that out.
And of course they do. They go into the Bay of Pigs. They go into Cuban Missile Crisis. They go through, and then they have a bunch of little examples of where they're about to launch. Like not only the Americans were times where the Americans are about to launch or thinking we're going to have to launch, and there are times when the Russians think, and it's just a glitch in a new system. It's a 30-cent microchip that went bad that now we suddenly think that there's all these missiles coming at us, or there's a new system put up and there's a reflection of the moon on the clouds, and they think it's an incoming attack because their radar's lit up. They're like, oh my God, they're launching, and they're ready to start calling, hey, the Americans have launched. So, and then when you watch it, like you get the goosebumps. It's like, because it's really done good, bro.
Bro, like, how close have we come to complete extinction, and how many times did that happen, bro? Like the whole thing with the red phone, to your point, and I'm sure they covered this in that documentary. I forget his name, but there's a Russian officer who stopped the world from going full blown, DEFCON 5 or whatever, nuclear conflict. Because of that, they're getting the radar lit up. There's like, oh, it's a full scale attack from the Americans, and it's the guy in charge, the one Russian guy in charge. He gave the order not to launch. And he's like, this doesn't seem right. Don't launch for whatever reason. I forget his name and what the circumstances were, but he didn't. And sure enough, it turned out that it was some sort of sim gone rogue.
Let's check. Even in the I wonder. Do you know what the Cuban Missile Crisis was? Oh my God! It's the Southern TV, education system. Really,
yeah, man. So, what's going on?
But anyway, and I'm not going to get into it with you right now. But there was actually, so at one point, they knew there was a submarine, right, during the blockade, right, or the quarantine zone. So during the blockade, they started shooting these, the depth charges, right? But these are not real depth charges. They're just dummies. Like they blow up, but they couldn't hurt. Even if they were right next to one of the sub, they wouldn't hurt it. But of course, the problem is, the sub, the Russian or the Soviet sub doesn't know that, right? They can hear the bombs, but they're not positive how far they are away, and they think they're trying to sink us. And really, what had happened was we'd already come up with an agreement, and they're kind of trying to get them to come up and so they can make contact. Mm-hmm. And the Russian commander of that sub, the captain, he had the ability that his orders were, if the war has started or if you're attacked, launch your nukes. So he's ready to launch his nukes. So it was him and like 3 or 4 had to concur. 2 of the guys say yes. He says yes, they say yes, but there's always a political officer on every sub. They go to the political officer, and he says, absolutely not. And they're like, what? He's like, no, go up. They're like, we go up, we could be destroyed. They're trying to. He said, he was like, I don't give a fuck. Like, you're going up. We're not launching, 80 nuclear missiles. You go up and make contact. They're literally, these guys are screaming at each other, wanting to push the button. What if that guy had just said, what if he didn't have the frame of mind to say, I can't do that? By the way, that ruined his career.
Yeah.
So you made the right call, but when he got back, never put on another sub. They talk about it. They interview him. It ruined his career. Now, he stayed in the Navy. He was still, but basically never was raised through the ranks, nothing, because it was like, yeah, you didn't do what needed to be done. What needed to be done wasn't the right call.
He saved the world.
I saved the world, but as a result of, like, it was kind of like you don't have the stomach for it. Like, bro, I know I have the ability to think that this is more important for us to at least get a call from Moscow. Not that he wouldn't have done it. He said, I would have done it, but not because we can hear some things going off that doesn't really feel like they're trying to destroy us.
He knew if America wanted to kill him, they'd be dead.
Right.
That's what he knew. Like, they're not trying to hurt us.
But they go up, they find out, guess, oh, no, turn around. They're just trying to get you to come up.
Yeah, go home.
Yeah.
Comrade Commissar, thanks for not blowing up the world, but you're going to the gulags.
Yeah. Horrible.
To the gulags.
They also talk about the gulags too. They talk about they go through with Stalin and how many people of his own people he killed.
Yes.
Like 30 million or 40 million of his own people he killed. But that was really prior to World War.
That was like leading up to
World War II.
And through World War II.
Yeah, and after.
World War II. I mean, Bill Burr has, I'm a huge stand-up guy. I'm a comedian, being in the world. Bill Burr right now, hands down, I think he's the best in the business right now. Bill Burr's on top. Dave Chappelle's probably a close second, but Bill Burr's on top.
Dave Chappelle talks about people stealing his
yeah.
He has a whole thing. Yeah. I watched a whole thing where he talked about, he names the guy and the guy told him, I'm just going to take it. And he was like, I don't know if maybe that's the guy we were talking about earlier.
No, Mancia wouldn't touch Dave Chappelle. Even back then, Dave
he was
Chappelle
just a kid. No, he was talking about when he was a teenager.
He was about old dudes.
13, 14 years old.
Yeah, when he started, they was still smoking cigarettes in the club. You know what I mean? So it was, you don't even remember that, do you? People used to smoke cigarettes inside. You know what I mean? You know what cigarettes are? No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Colby was born in the 80s. When were you born?
94.
Oh my God.
You mean 1994?
I graduated in college in 95, graduated high school in 88.
Like, bro, I got out of the Army in 94. Jesus. 94. The stuff we were doing in 94 while you were just coming out like, and we was out there.
You can't remember when there wasn't an internet.
Bro.
By the time he's 6 or 7 years old, like they're already coming out with like the internet. Well, no, the internet was in the 90s because I was in college.
Because CERN was when you were like they were doing CERN. It was only for like the sciences back then.
Yes, because it started in the universities.
Yep. So, bro, once upon a time, it used to like be a workout just to dial somebody. Rotary phones, man. Yep. Look that up. Look that up, y'all. Remember, and remember the hackers used to go to the pay phones and they would just have fun hacking different phones or whatever.
That's when you paid for long distance. And
exactly.
You paid for,
Like, bro, that's when, Hey.
Well, I feel bad for my wife's like 18 years younger than me. I make her watch stuff all the time. And she'll sit there and I can look at her face and I'm like, you don't have to watch this. We can do it. No, it's fine. But the look on her face is like, this is agony right now. I'm going to do it for you. But I have no interest in this. And I'm always, as you get older, you know what I'm saying? You want to watch documentaries that I would have killed myself if my mom had made me watch when I was a teenager.
Bro, I didn't know Hitler. I didn't know Hitler farted all the time. I'm like, this is amazing. I'm just sitting around there watching.
Well, one of the things too was his the paratroopers was when Mussolini was when he was overthrown and he was placed in a prison on a mountain.
Yep.
And Hitler sent in a paratroopers that they came down at night, landed on the prison, and took over and freed Mussolini. That's a Navy. I mean, that's a
They were his most elite soldier. It was Otto Score something. I can't remember the name of the guy who was in charge of that was like his most elite team. And
was he the guy? Did he have a scar on his face?
I think that was him. Yeah.
Listen to what these guys would do. They would actually scar themselves and they would push hay or horsehair or something in the scars to try and make it look more pronounced because they thought it looked cool to scar them. There's some,
Man, that's crazy. I ain't doing that.
yeah.
You ain't
To
scarring
make
my
themselves
face.
look like if you got a scar or something, they would try and make it look worse. The scar look worse because then you looked more rugged and tough and
Yeah, Hitler, like the German paratroopers were some of the most elite soldiers ever. Really, I mean, they really set the tone. And Hitler used them. They rescued Mussolini. It was a daring raid. They got him out of there, only for the Mussolini to go back. And then we
say,
we
didn't
know how
last
that
long.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
didn't work out good for Mussolini. But when Hitler invaded Greece, I think it was Greece, he used his paratroopers. That's the last time he used his paratrooper in a mass movement because he lost so many of them. I think the loss rate of his paratroopers was like 70, 80% or something like that. Don't quote me on that, internet. Don't quote me on it. But he lost a lot of paratroopers. The losses were so high, but they were successful. They completed their mission. They ran the Brits out of there. But the losses were so high that Hitler didn't want to do it again. He didn't want to, risk his paratroopers like that again.
There's so many things that happen in World War II that are over the top. Like when you tell people, they're like, "Come on, man, that didn't happen." Like you understand that? And I'm sure you know this. There was an entire army that was built using blow up tanks, blow up airplanes, blow up soldiers. It was all blue, and they put Patton. Was Patton in charge of it?
They moved Patton up there to Pas-de-Calais, something like that.
Because Patton had kicked a soldier. I don't think he kicked him, smacked him. They made it. There was a picture that had kicking the guy in the ass. Yeah. Really, what happened was a guy had shell shock, right? Which is the equivalent to what is it's
PTSD.
Now PTSD, and he was just terrified. He's he was in a medical tent. He was like, I can't go back. I can't. But he's terrified. And there's other people that have been shot, and Patton got furious and slaps him and tells him to get back to his unit. And he's furious. Well, the problem is there was a reporter there, and the reporter saw that and was like, this guy just slapped a soldier. He's terrified. He slapped him. But, Patton was a very tough guy. And so it hit the newspapers, and they call the president, basically, he's about to just sack him. Like, you're done. Not throw him out, but like, we're going to put you on the sidelines. Instead, what he does is he puts him in charge of this blow up gold. I forget, it had a real name. This, Army number 5 or whatever its designation was. He puts them in charge of it. So Hitler hears this and thinks Patton's is the U.S. military's best general. Obviously, it's a real thing, and that's the military that's going to come in. They're going to come across the channel. They're going to invade up there. Patton's in charge of that military. That's where they're coming from, and it's all bullshit. It's all fake. It's blow up tanks, blow up airplanes.
Yeah, wooden airplanes. Yeah, blow up tanks. They would have men underneath the blow up tank and walk around. And it looks like the tank is moving. You know what I mean? It's just dudes walking the tank around.
Listen, there's tons of footage of it. I mean, like if you explain that to someone, it's like, man, bullshit. Come on, that didn't absolutely. And then the other thing they did was they had the paratroopers, where they had little soldiers. They made these little, I don't know what they were, wood, clay, whatever, plastic. And what they would do is they dropped thousands of them. So the Germans think the invasion's here. They can see the paratroopers coming. They're shooting at them. And when they would hit the ground, it would smash something and firecrackers would go off. So the paratrooper, this little, because from a distance, a little 4 foot or a little 3 foot soldier, a little
at night,
a little model, looks like a regular person, and when he hits the ground, it starts going ba 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 ba. So these guys are hitting the ground, they're shooting at us. So they move tons of soldiers to fight these guys in the fields. There's nobody there. Like it's 1,000 blow up dolls or not, but whatever models that they dropped. I mean, there's so many insane things that happened during World War II.
I got one last one for you. I'm pretty sure you know about this. The reason D-Day was successful is because Hitler refused to release his reserves of Panther reserves that were in the north to counter that fake army. The other reason that Hitler thought it was real is because Garbo, which was a double agent, it was a spy, it was a German spy who the Brits found and flipped. So he's a double agent. He's working for, the Allies.
Right.
Is feeding the Germans information. Hey, they're gonna attack Normandy. That's a fake up there. And they actually sent a message to Germany that says like hours before the invasion is about to happen in a couple hours. It's Normandy. It's I think that No. They said the invasion. I got that wrong, guys.
Yeah.
I got that wrong.
I was going to say that.
They got that wrong. He said the invasion is definitely going to come. It's patented. They're coming across the north. There's an invasion on the way in Normandy, but it's a fake.
Right.
Don't fall for the fake.
Right. So he switched it on them. The other thing is too, they got Hitler got they got word, but Hitler was taking a nap. He didn't do anything for 3 or 4 hours.
Don't wake me. Don't wake me.
They were too afraid to wake him up. He was taking a nap.
Yes.
So for 4 hours, nothing happens.
Think of all that went into World War II. Because D-Day would have failed if, and another thing, during World War II, the Brits were reading in real time what the Germans were doing. They broke Enigma. They figured out the code machine.
Yeah.
Alan Turing, the Imitation Game, if you have never seen it, watch the movie.
Great movie.
Right? So they knew what the Germans knew and what the Germans were doing. And I mean, take all that in consideration, and we still almost lost. Mm-hmm. Like it's crazy. Stalin would have been defeated if Hitler wasn't stupid and did what he did. Oh, let's go hit, Stalingrad. Yeah,
he was. They were 50 miles away from Moscow, and Hitler happens to see that there's a town, a little city called Stalingrad. So he diverts his troops to go, let's take out Stalingrad first because it's got Stalin's name on it. That's it. You're 50 miles from Moscow. What are you doing? And they hold him at Stalingrad for like 6 months, and the winter comes in and just destroys him.
Yeah, Paul is lost. He was a field marshal, had to surrender, and that was it. That was the beginning of the end for the Nazis. But just think about that. All these little things.
All those sequence of events that had to run perfectly for the Allies to be victorious.
To be victorious, man, it was crazy, bro. Hey, this is what I love about podcasts, man. They had no idea we were going to be talking about.
No, sorry.
I love it. This is great.
You touched on a subject that I love to talk about.
Bro, this is perfect.
So
I ain't mad at you, man. And I'm proud to say that I'm a part of that American tradition, bro. I am a paratrooper. I'm a proud paratrooper, bro. I mean, even as an old man, I still think sometimes I could do it. I was talking to my buddy, one of my good friends. He lives out here as well. And we were talking about like, hey, man, do you miss it, man? Would you go on one last mission? He was like, I would love to, but we can't handle it, man. Our bodies will fall apart, bro. I'm like, just one more jump, just one more. He's like, it's no way, bro. There's no way. So we talk about it all the time, but I'm an old man now. I can't do all that stuff.
So when you got out of the Army, did you go and get a job as a
air traffic controller?
A traffic controller?
No. So while I was in, I met a man, a mentor of mine, really, really good guy. And he said, hey, you ever consider being an air traffic controller in civilian side? I was like, I would love to, but from what I gather, it's virtually impossible to get in. And it was really tough. Like, I don't know if I could get through it. I know I could do the job, but I don't know if I could get the opportunity. He said, well, what if I told you that I might be able to help you with that? And I was like, well, yes, sir. If you can get me in, I would absolutely love that opportunity. This was 1992, 93. He said, don't take my information. You might not hear from me for a while, but when you do, be ready. Yes, sir. So I got out in 94, went home, started doing a whole bunch of jobs, like got a job as a janitor at my sister's high school. I would always have 2 full-time jobs and some sort of hustle. That's what I was doing. Because again, I'm back in the streets and I don't want to do what everyone is doing. I'm like, I got a shot at this FAA thing maybe one day. I don't want to get in trouble. I'm going to do I'm a hustle. My hustle was always work. I'm going to go get 2 jobs. I work at a restaurant as a short order cook, but I still have my full-time job as a janitor. And I was doing political stuff, working on like campaigns. I was working as a street promoter for a local R&B and hip hop record label. I was doing all sorts of stuff. I'm in the streets. I'm trying to manage people. I'm having fun. Like, it's whatever. Maybe the occasional, whatever. Maybe on the side. Maybe a little something on the side. Maybe. And then, so it's, I get out in 94. So here it is, 96. I get a call. It's that guy. It's like, hey,
the eagle has landed.
Pretty much. It was like, hey, Pop go to Weasel, you ready? And I'm like, yeah, I'm ready. So he was like, hey, listen, there's an opportunity. Might be able to get you into the FAA. There's a program. It's called Veterans Relocation Act, VRA. You qualify for this program. I need you to fill out this packet and get this information to this person. And I need you to get it done in 24 hours. Yes, sir. And this isn't, we didn't have computers, boys and girls. It's not like I go on and just click and point and upload my resume and all that. I had to go get everything, pull everything together, go do all this stuff, put together a file and get it to this person. Got it done. And it's kind of funny. It's kind of like a op. It's like I was aspiring something. I get all that stuff in. I'm sitting in the house, phone will ring. Okay, good job. I see you got that done. Appreciate that. I'll keep you posted. Hangs up. I don't hear from him for, 6 months, 8 months. I get another call. Yes, sir. All right. I need you to go to this doctor's office and I need you to take this physical. I need you to do this. He never asked me if I was like smoking or anything like that because he knew the kind of kid I was. I'm like, once I heard from him, like, I ain't touching no weed. I ain't doing nothing. So he was like, I need you to go do this, blah, blah, blah. Gave me another list of things to do. I need you to get this done ASAP. Yes, sir. Got all that stuff done. And before you know it, I get a letter from the United States government, Federal Aviation Administration. Congratulations. You know what I mean? We're going to hire you as an air traffic controller. And they start asking me, like, where do you want to work? And, what do you kind of do? Like, what, do you want to stay in your region or are you willing to move and da-da-da? And I'm in the hood, bro. You know what it's like when you ain't really making money, right? I'm working my butt off. I don't think I made over $20,000, $25,000. I doubt if I made that much money in the 4 years that I was home. Busting my ass, doing it the right way. Meanwhile, watching my homies pulling up in brand new this and that. Got the clothes on, you know what I mean? Money is stacked up. I'm like, yeah, I'll go wherever you guys need me. I just want to start as soon as I can. All right, no problem. Would you mind going to Northern California? I'll go anywhere. I'll go to Northern California.
That sounds nice.
That's great. But I'll work anywhere. They're like, okay, no problem. And then they hit me up a couple months later. All your paperwork is in. All your security checks are done. You're good to go. You're going to Van Nuys. So I get out a map, right? Got out Thompson Guide. Look that up, young people. You know what the Thompson Guide is, bro? Get out the old Thompson Guide. All right, let's look at it. I'm looking all over Northern California. Where the hell is Van Nuys? They told me I'm going to Northern California. Well, Van Nuys is in the San Fernando Valley. It's in L.A. Oh, okay. Even better. I'm going to L.A. Woo! You know what I mean? So I get on a train, save my little money. I couldn't afford a plane ticket, man. Got on a train. I wasn't so broke that I had to take a bus, but I would have. And I took the train all the way out to LA, and I didn't have a place to live. I just got this job. I got this career. I got this opportunity, but I don't have a place to live. I don't have a car. I don't really have any money. I might have had $400 in my pocket. So how long is that going to last? You know what I mean? So
not long in LA.
No. And this is 1998. So I tell my buddy, man, I got hired by the FAA. And the guy was in my unit. He's an air traffic controller too. He's like, I have family out there. You got a place to stay? I'm like, I don't. Hey man, I got family out there, make some phone calls. People hit me up. Hey, you could crash over here until you get on your feet, blah, blah, blah. And I turned it into a situation, but at least it gave me a place to stay for a week. And then after that, I'm working and there were at the time, I was the third black person at this particular air traffic control facility. So the two other people there, the brother and the sister, y'all know who you are. They took care of me. They hooked me up. I was like, look, I don't have any money. They were like, where are you staying? Like, I was staying with a friend, but I can't stay there anymore. So I'm like, I'm going to sleep under that tree right there. I was like, I don't care. I'm good until I get paid. I'm young. You know what I mean? I'm a warrior. Like, I've slept under the stars before. I don't care. If I had a car, I would have slept in that. They're like, no, I'm moving into a house. We're about to close. You can come live with me. But we don't have space now, but when we get this house, you come live with me. And I'm like, fine. And they're like, so seriously, where are you sleeping? I'm like, I'm not joking. I'm gonna sleep under that tree right there. And they're like, no, they gave me some money. They go get yourself a little motel. You know what I mean? I'm in the hood, rat infested motel, man, gunshots outside, everything. Like I'm like, bro, I was in Van Nuys, guys. Anybody know, bro? I was on Roscoe and Roscoe and what was the cross street? Roscoe and Havenhurst or something like that. I can't remember, but I was in the hood. I'm like right next to a strip club. I mean, it's always drama, but I'm in my little hotel room. I didn't go outside. I went to work, I ate, and I came in the house. And I just sat there and I was just so happy to have this position. And then after 2 weeks or so, I got paid. So I went from making maybe $22,000 a year. I don't think I made that much. To I'm in training. I'm making $60,000. I got hired. I'm making $60,000, and the FAA and the union had just negotiated a new contract where there was like pay raises coming. So I went from 60,000 to 78,000, right, to like 84,000 to over 100,000, and all this happened within like less than a year. I'm
Nice.
like, oh, bro, I'm good. Got an apartment. I stayed with my friends for a while. They hooked me up.
80, 90s?
This is 1998. It's 1998 in LA. Still, before.
Still expensive, but not like it is now. But
not like it is now. But yeah, I'm like, dude, one of the other guys that started with me, we got an apartment in Warner Center. So we're like in the valley. It's like I go from being homeless to now we got a 2-bedroom with a loft, you know what I mean, with this beautiful, community, hot tubs everywhere, women walking around, man. I'm getting paid, like still didn't have a car. Like, let me go buy a car. Like I was able to go buy a car. So within a year and a half, within 18 months of me leaving Cincinnati, being broke, trying not to get caught doing crazy stuff, to living in LA in the San Fernando Valley in a real cool spot. I'm driving a 7 Series now. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, did it all legal.
Right.
Did it all legal. So I was so proud of that. And I stayed at Van Nuys for the majority of my career. I spent 3 years in Miami, spent a couple years in San Diego, but I kept coming back to Van Nuys, and I retired out of Van Nuys. I loved what I was doing. Being an air traffic controller, man, it's a great career, but it is stressful. And you do see things. I know how you feel about flying, so I'm not going to get into the details because you are already about ready. Because I saw you did an interview with a brother, and y'all were talking about being nervous on flights and stuff like that, and airplanes making noise. I was watching one of your podcasts. This was.
I mean, I don't think I'm alone.
No, you're not.
When you're flying, and I'm not really nervous. I can't sleep on the plane, but it does make me nervous when you hear things like all of a sudden and you're like, and I'm, it's like that's not normal. That doesn't, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that is no. That's something. That's sometimes it's the gear coming down. Sometimes it's them. They're moving fuel around in the tank, so you hear the stuff come on.
It doesn't feel normal, and I have to constantly tell myself like when they're because this is when I'm most nervous, when they're taking off or they're landing, because I've heard that those are the worst possible times that like something goes wrong during those periods. Like it's very seldom would they ever able to pull it off. Like something goes wrong in the air, you're okay. You're way up there. You have plenty of time. There's plenty of time to talk. It's when during the takeoff and during landing, that's when if things go wrong, it could go really wrong.
Yes.
But the other thing is like what I tell myself while I'm watching as we're coming down or as we're taking off, I tell myself that, these are fucking engineers. These things have been flying forever. They're amazing. These are brilliant people. They know exactly what they're doing. Don't think about the fact that this thing weighs, whatever, 90 tons. And the fact is that I'm looking at this and there's no way this thing should fucking fly. This thing shouldn't I don't care if we're going 300 miles an hour. There's no way this thing should come off the ground. But you're looking at the wing, it's like all these things I'm like, no, these people are smart. They know what they're doing. You don't know anything. You're just an idiot. You're fine. You're in their hands. You're good. I have to tell myself all that so that I don't sit there and just start going like panicking.
See, math is amazing. That's how you got to tell yourself. Math is amazing.
These people are brilliant. They know what they're doing. You don't. Sit down.
Man, I sleep like a baby on airplanes, bro. I was
a
paratrooper, man. We get on the bird, go to sleep, man. I mean, and then when we wake up, the door opens and we jump out. So I'm not even worried about it. I mean,
can't sleep when my wife drives. I'm a
hilarious.
control. Plus the fact that she can't stay on the road. Like literally, I mean, those bumps. I can't tell you how many times I woke up to. And I look at her. She's, it's fine. I was texting. Well, that doesn't help.
Hey, man,
that doesn't make me feel better.
I'm not feeling good right now.
Right.
You were what? Cut this part out, man. We don't want to get him in trouble, bro. Saying his wife can't drive.
I tell her if she was right here, she'd be like, "Oh, text. What do you want me to say? I'm fine."
I had to. I mean, the TikTok was amazing. You didn't see it. Like, don't kill us. But no, man. So, and I did that, bro.
How old were you when you were hired?
37.
You retired at 30?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said when I was hired. I just retired. I was 50.
Okay.
I was 50 when I was hired.
My God.
Yeah, I wish.
Job.
I wish.
I worked for 4 years. Full pension.
You can pull it off.
God.
So as an air traffic controller, right? You can only work for so long as a controller. I mean, there's caveats for if you get into management and stuff like that. But Because right now they're doing a hire. They're looking to hire people, no experience necessary. If you get in at age 18, all you need is 25 years and you can retire at any age.
Right.
So I had to wait till 50, but you can get out of there depending on when you get in.
You know what's funny? You would meet people in the BOP where they literally had gone into, let's say, the military at like 17.
Yep.
And then they retired after like 20 years or whatever. So they retired after 20 years. Then they became a police officer. They retired after like 20 or 25 years. And then now they're working on now they're like in their late 50s, early 60s, but they're working for the BOP. It's like, bro, like this is insane. They're like, I got 2 pensions that are going to be coming, Social Security plus two government pensions. They're like, I'm not going to be able to finish this one. But it's like, that's insane, But they'll retire making probably more money than they made at any one of those jobs.
Yep, they put it together. I worked with a guy who was LA County Sheriff. He did that. He retired. And they had a program that he qualified for. He could become an air traffic controller, and he did. So he was a retired LA County Sheriff while I was working with him, pulling a pension. And was he pulling his pension? I think he was. And he was an air traffic controller working towards that second pension. Mm. And if he wasn't pulling the pension, he's pulling it now because he's retired. So he, probably retired with just stack the 2 pensions on top.
Right.
And he was in real estate too.
And you're getting Social Security. Like you can get some, not all of it, but you get a portion of it still.
Yeah. It's some little Chinese math. We all know that's going away, bro. Ain't gonna be no more Social Security. Forget about it, y'all.
Don't tell me that.
I'm sorry, bro.
I'm banking on it.
I'm sorry, bro.
I owe it's not like I can save any money. I owe $6 million. Well, I've got it down to it's like 5.7 now.
I was going to ask you about that, bro.
Yeah.
5.7. Well done, man. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm really chipping away at it.
There you go, buddy. Tink, tink, tink.
But you retired and then were you doing stand up full time at that point or?
Well, I'm a dad.
Right.
So my number one thing is the best job. I love being a dad. That's my number one thing. So I didn't rush into doing stand-up and promoting and stuff like that or doing the YouTube stuff.
But you were doing it also while you were...
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
So as an air traffic controller, I would air traffic control by day, basically, and I would go out and do stand-up at night. The air traffic control world had no idea I was doing comedy and vice versa. Mm-hmm. So comics were just like, oh, it's just another comedian, but I wasn't living in my car. I wasn't, living with 8 other dudes. I was, I had money to eat with. I would take people out and I got the tab or whatever. So they didn't know what I was doing. They probably thought I was doing something illegal. They had no idea. The air traffic controllers didn't know. Only a couple of my friends knew I was doing comedy. I did it on purpose. I wanted to see if I could be a real comic. I don't want to bring my friends out. For anybody out there thinking about doing comedy, the worst thing you can do for yourself is bring your friends out to your shows when you first start, because they're going to want to support you and whatever. You need to know if you're funny or not.
Yeah. I was going to say, it's like being a writer and then giving your buddies your manuscript to read. What are they going to say?
This sucks, bro.
It sucks. You don't know what you're doing. They're all going to be, oh, no, it was good. I like that part about the guy and the... This is a bad idea.
Don't send it to me. I'll have notes and everything. You send me your screenplay, bro, because I played around with the cool kids. I'm like, all right, I like the premise, but I'll be all into it, bro. But the average person's not going to do that. They just want to support you. So I always tell people, don't bring any of your friends out. Get a couple years under your belt before you do. And that's what I did. So once I got to a point where I'm like, okay, I'm accepted as a comic. I'm out here doing my thing. I started to let my comedic friends and my air traffic family, to know about the two worlds, that they blended, because we would do shows. We would promote shows on Sunset, like in Hollywood and North Hollywood and in Van Nuys, wherever. People would come to me and say, hey man, we want to do a show. Can you put together a show at my bar or at my restaurant or at my whatever? I'm like, yeah, I could do it. And the reason I do it is because I love comedy. I just want to have the perfect show. I love it when people have a good time and the comics get a good audience, and it's just brilliant. And in LA, I got to a point where I can talk to people. I can say, hey, so-and-so, can you come do this? You might have Tony Rock or Sebastian Maniscalco, who used to come to my shows all the time, real cool dude. Sebastian's like the top dude in the business right now. He's killing it right now. Brett Ernst, Sam Tripoli, who was killing it back then, Ty Barnett, all these people who have gone on to do great things. Tammy Pascatelli, Gabriel Iglesias, the first 2 seasons of that, what's the comic thing? There was a reality show about comics. Daggone it, I can't think of it right now. They're like, this guy ain't no real comic. But there was a reality show about comics, And the first 2 seasons of that show, I knew everybody was on the show. Like a lot of those guys came to perform at some of my events. So now it's good that I know air traffic controllers because I can bring them out. Controllers got money. They come out, they buy drinks, they eat, they have a good time, they enjoy the show, and they go home. They show up on time. It's great. And then I got the comics there, so I could get, good comics in there. So I was doing good. At one point, bro, it was like hustling, man. I was making almost as much money doing these different shows than I was making at work. So I wasn't even touching my ATC money. I'm just like living off of the money I'm getting from promoting shows. Like people, hey, we'll pay you $500 a week if you put your show together. Hey, we'll give you 25% of the bar if you put these shows together. In Hollywood, bro, that could be a good chunk.
Yeah.
So, and I'm running 4 or 5 shows a week, every week. So I'm like, bro, I thought I was hustling. I'm walking around like, bro, I got bread and I could get into all the clubs. Everyone knew me. I'm thinking like, yeah, I'm Mr. Big out this joint. I ain't doing nothing illegal. It was great. So,
there's no real pressure on you to make money doing it either.
Right.
So, you tend to love things. I tend to like things a lot better. You know what I'm saying? When I'm doing it just because I enjoy it and not because I'm trying to chase a dollar.
Like this. And that show is called Last Comic Standing.
Oh, okay.
Last Comic Standing. So first couple seasons of that, all those comics, I'm interacting with them, talking to them, whatever. It's great. So, yeah, man. So I was doing that, man. It was great. I didn't have any kids. I'm out here in Hollywood, bro. I'm kicking it with the cool kids, man. I'm on movie sets. I got friends doing, movies and TV shows, and they're bringing me in. I'm just kind of hanging out. Man, that's the best. When you like just a guest of whoever, the director or producer or maybe the principal, like actors, man, they treat you like royalty, bro. Everything's free. You go in there, you eat. Right. You want something on a haircut? What? Yeah, dude, I'm just getting paid. You want a haircut? Get your haircut. I do your beard, bro. See you, bro. I can shave your hair for you. Okay. They have no money. I can't even tip them. You know what I mean? You hungry? We got filet over here. Want filet? What? Yeah, we have filet and mashed potatoes. What? Food services, bro. Craft services is amazing.
Yeah, I'm right now. My wife and I are binge watching. We're on the 3rd season of Entourage. And so you see it's
real close to that, bro.
Yeah, I was gonna. It's funny you say that because while we were watching, I was like, listen, I was like Mark Wahlberg. I watched an interview with him, and I said, and he's the executive producer of Entourage, obviously, and it's loosely based on him and his cousin and his brother who'd all gone.
Okay,
I mean, most people don't know this because it's an older show, but. And he was explaining, like, look, you have to understand, like, there are some things we obviously conflate, and obviously there's some stories that we have to condense because something like this would take place over the course of 2 years. We have to do it in 1 episode. So we make it seem like he ran over here and he called him and he's so-and-so and he bought out such, to get it all done. He's like, but really that took place much longer. He said, but for the most part, he was like, this is an extremely representative. This show is extremely representative of how they treat you, how deals get done. And I'm always telling her, like, you understand that it's not like the best script, the best movie, and the best actor because, like my story, like everyone's like, why isn't your story a movie? Well, here's why. Because most movies get made because Jimmy's cousin is the director of such and such, and he knows this producer. And Todd knows so-and-so who this. And so-and-so just lost this movie, and he's now able to sign on to this project. And so-and-so just so happened to owe so-and-so a favor, and they all got together, and they happened to go to a meeting and bump into the head of Warner Brothers. And now they're going to make a movie called Dumbo Drop, where they're going to drop an elephant out of an airplane
in Indonesia
to save some fucking tribe or the U.S. military and help the military in operation. A movie that never should have been made, but it just so happens that the stars align and that movie gets made. Where it's this amazing movie never gets made. And I was told this because I just came back from L.A. A guy told me it used to be the average movie it took about 7 years to get made. Now the average movie, and this is movies, not series, but the average movie takes 13 years on average to get made. And I thought, that's insane.
I could believe that.
That's fucking insane.
Gatekeepers are real, bro.
I mean, I can't imagine anything like it's a and let's face it, you've seen the movies that come out. It's still not based on the best script, the best story, the best. It's still not based on.
They're really trash now, bro. Like the creativity is gone. All they want is what they think is a surefire hit. I mean, you look at Disney, you look at Marvel, look at what this is absolutely going to work, or they get like, something, they water it down.
Well, you know what I think too? Like the Disney stuff, it's like, because it's all so, I probably shouldn't say this, but it's so woke now, obviously, and you're watching your numbers dive and dive and dive, and you then Disney then, instead of saying we need to change this, they dig in, and it's like, listen, here's the problem, and it's the whole Hitler, Stalin. You've surrounded yourself by people, by yes men. They're telling you everything you're doing is correct, even though all the numbers say it's not correct, and then you're abusing or speaking down to even if 50% of the country was woke, you're talking down to the other half. Like, you're not saying, hey, we feel this way, let's all get along. You're saying you guys are all wrong. We're 100% right. We're going to push this agenda on you and try and cancel you if you're not okay with it. And in the meantime, your studios are going under. Your movies are losing.
Stock prices are crashing.
Right. Like at some point, don't you have to say, look, like, we fucked up. Like, it takes, listen, to me, it takes, I'll forgive almost anybody if they apologize.
I mean, Bud Light did it.
Yeah.
With that Mulvaney thing, they did it. And then they bring out, who they bring out? Old boy from the Cowboys, and Peyton Manning and, God, what's the name of the running back from the Cowboys, legendary running back back in the 80s, our time? Emmitt Smith. Yeah. So if you look at that, they came out after Bud Light debacle with Dylan Mulvaney.
Yeah.
They got Peyton Manning throwing beers to people, the dudes in the bar throwing Bud Lights, and then Emmitt Smith comes in and they're doing these amazing catches and stuff like that. That's them saying we're sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, America. Sorry we pissed y'all off. Sorry you stopped drinking our nasty ass beer. I'm not a beer guy, but Bud Light's horrible, bro. Americans bought Bud Light because it was America's beer. You know what I mean? And those people loved it. It was like my dad drank Bud Light, and his dad drank Bud Light, and my grandma drank Bud Light. I ain't mad at that. It's like a tradition. You go to barbecue. Hey, man, you want a Bud Light? No. Go get me a Hennessy. I'm grown up. I don't want no nasty-ass beer. You know what I mean? But they shit on those people, bro.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. The big thing is that you really alienated yourself from your core group, instead of saying, and they were saying, well, we were trying to expand the brand and make it more inclusive. Okay, but that's not the way
that's not what you did.
Obviously, you didn't pull off some random people on the street and show them what you were about to do. You clearly made the wrong decision here. I mean,
that was just horrible. Well, old girl, the lady who came up with that and those videos of her saying the people are stupid or whatever she was saying.
Yeah.
And like I said, she got paid to do all that. Even when she walked away or whatever, she walked away with millions.
Yeah.
Please let me fuck up something like that and pay me $45 million.
Give me a golden parachute.
Please, just one.
This is which is different than a golden shower.
Hey, there you go. That was your 1 minute right there.
Look at Colby. You
know what that is, don't you? Yeah, y'all, you little degenerates.
Either one of them. No, listen, Colby's from Plant City. He's married to his high school sweetheart. Aww. He has a daughter, and he's got another one on the way. Like, he is, listen, my wife feels like don't cuss around Colby. She's like, she feels like he's the most innocent, and honestly, he is a very wholesome, innocent.
You shouldn't be around us, bro. No, we're the Sith over here, bro. Like, you're like you're the chosen one. He's like the perfect Jedi. We're over here, Sith lords over here talking about the bad things.
Look, I think our first podcast was what's his name? Dowd was the first podcast. Dowd's a corrupt cop from New York, and honestly, to this day, like, known as like the most corrupt cop in New York history.
What?
Yeah.
He's the GOAT?
Oh yeah. And he's talking about.
Did he shoot Serpico? Like, who was this dude?
Talking about selling crack and taking crack off people and extorting people, and like, it was just. And the whole time I'm thinking, what is Colby thinking? He's got to be thinking, like, what have I gotten myself into?
He was thinking, God save me. That's what he was thinking.
And listen, the next guy that comes in has been arrested like 30 times. The next guy that's comes, like, they're all criminals. Most of these guys are criminals, I'm telling you, by like month 2, he was just like, this is insane. This guy robbed 4 banks. This guy, he's talking about selling heroin. This guy's talking about, it's just insane.
That's great. Hey, man, good for you, bro. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, man, be careful around me, man.
Yeah,
I'll have you join the dark side.
I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall during the first few conversations with he and his wife. Like, so what happened today? Listen, this guy.
No.
It
It was fine.
Yeah.
He brought in some Christian guys. Yeah, we were singing songs. It was amazing. And in his mind, he's just like, yeah, meth, death, cocaine.
An escort.
Yeah,
You know what's so funny about that? I was trying to be polite, right? I'm not asking a lot of personal questions, but towards the end, when it was wrapping up, Colby starts asking questions. He's like, I have a question. Like, what are you charging for these things? Like, Colby, like, he's like, where are these girls? Well, what do they do? Well, how are you? And I'm like, yeah, these are all questions I should have asked. But,
That'd have been number one. First question: how much to take a dump on your stomach? Just curious.
Oh God,
just curious.
Like, what are you doing? Mark that down. That's not going to be okay. People get mad at us for bleeping stuff out. But it's got to get monetized. Do you have any? Well, listen.
All kind of problems, bro.
Do you have problems getting monetized?
I'm monetized, but YouTube is coming for me, bro. I'm barely. So I had about I don't know, maybe less than a week ago. I had 1,830 something subscribers, and then in a 12-hour period, I lost 150 subscribers.
How?
That's what I want to know.
Did you say something super insulting?
I think I did. I think so I'm not like crazy with it. Like, this is about as risque as I get, this conversation right here. I don't go crazy with it. The name of my podcast, I really want to know. So I talk about all sorts of stuff, politics, intersexual dynamics, you know what I mean? I'm considered red pill, manosphere, content fine, it is what it is. But I put out a 1-minute YouTube short in which I said, hey, I don't care what anybody says. I believe YouTube, censors people. I believe YouTube, if they don't like your content, then they're going to show it.
Yeah.
But that's it. I said that, and it wasn't crazy. It just, like, it is what it is. It's their platform. They can do what they want. I'm just letting you know, if they don't like you, they're going to, make it hard. 12 hours later, 150 subscribers gone. Not even 12 hours. It was really like 6 to 8 hours. I was just like, what the hell? And also, I had a short about, Puffy. The Diddy thing. I had a short about the Diddy thing. I talked about Lizzo. I was like,
you had a short or show?
Both. But from the show, I cut it down. I did, I like to do YouTube shorts. That's where I'll get the bulk of my views. Like, I'll do YouTube shorts for like 1 minute or less, put that up there. And, the one I did on Sean Combs, like 4,600 views. That's a lot for me, right? It's like, wow, that little 1 minute. The show I did on it might be like 45 views, 80 views or something like that. But the short, 4,500. I said something about Lizzo, and I said the thing about the, suppression, and there's no way I had 150 Lizzo fans that got, oh my God, I can't believe you said this about Lizzo, and jump ship.
Right.
Same thing with Sean Combs. There's no way I had 150 Sean Combs dedicated hardcore people that would jump ship. That's not my lane. So I'm just trying to figure out what I did.
I do know, not at roughly 1,100 subscribers, but I do know that periodically YouTube will go through and they'll do something, because let's say every 4 to 6 months, our subscribers will drop several hundred, right?
Same thing, right? Like percentage-wise, probably the same thing.
Right, but I mean, I'm saying so it's several hundred, and it's like, what just happened? And I think periodically they must clean up.
Do a purge or something?
Something like maybe these are inactive people, or those subscribers or those channels have closed or become inactive. I'm not sure because let's face it, we've got over 220,000 subscribers right now. 220,000 subscribers are not watching my videos.
Exactly.
It's like 8 to 12% of those people are watching my videos,
and that's good.
Yeah, that's
really good.
Is it that high?
Because I think normally somewhere between
the channel.
Yeah.
I think the channel overall monthly, like the 28-day average. So it'll be like 8% of your subscriber base watched a video on your channel. Not every video. That would be great.
Wouldn't
if 8% of every video we got, like, that would be great.
Smoking.
Yeah, that'd be 35 to 40,000 views
Exactly.
on every single video.
But you got videos with millions of views, bro. I think I saw one like 4 million views on your channel.
Shorts.
Those are shorts. Okay.
Shorts, we have 5, 6 million, 4
Okay.
million. But
So
the
35% of our watch time is from subscribers.
35%.
That's really good, bro.
Yeah.
Like I know what I'm talking about. I've been doing this for like a hot, not even 18 months. I'm like, oh yeah, that's really good, bro. That's
Well, listen, what's so funny is it takes the average. I heard it takes the average YouTuber 3 years to get 1,000 subscribers on average.
yeah.
So, but it's consistency. You got to.
PBD said 5. It took him 5 years.
Oh, 5 years?
I think PBD took him 5 years. But think of when he started though.
Yeah.
But he said it took him 5 years to get that first 1,000 and then it took off.
I wonder how serious he was initially.
Probably just here and there, every blue moon. But that makes sense. Someone like me, I did it in right at a year, maybe a hair under a year.
My buddy Zach was monetized within 30 days.
But
But he also came on the podcast several times.
Okay.
And so 3 of those 2-hour podcasts, we put them on his show, on his channel. Then we did a couple podcasts where we mentioned he had just started a channel, and then he started telling his story on his channel. He has a crime story. And so he started, so within 30 days, boom, well, we were able to apply for monetization. 2 days later, it's monetized. 3 days later. But that is extremely rare. That's why I hate it when people are like, you should have 2 million subscribers. Like, bro, do you understand how good I'm doing? What a leg up I've had?
A lot of people follow you, bro. Every time I will say, hey, because I was being secretive. I didn't, because I'm like, I'm not one of those guys like, oh, I don't want to jinx it, but I didn't want to jinx it, right? I was like, I'm not going to say nothing. The last thing I need is to tell everybody I'm going to be on this podcast and something happens and I couldn't do it. Or like, I was like, all right, after we shoot it, it's in the can. I don't know when it's going to come out, but I'll say it then. I'll announce
and you're not texting me either, by the way. So like I'm texting, because Colby will say like, hey, is everybody good for Tuesday and Thursday? And I text and when I looked at you, I was like, this guy's not texting. Like, you were only texting me back when I was like, hey, really excited about Tuesday. And you're like, me too, bro.
I was gonna hit you on Monday. See, I was gonna hit you. I'm like, I want to make sure we're still good. I was gonna hit you Monday morning. You hit me Sunday. Like, I didn't want to bother you. Here's another thing too, bro. This is how I work, because I was in Hollywood. I don't want to bother anybody. We're professionals. We're men. I gave you my word. You gave me your word. You gave me the opportunity. I'm not gonna screw that up. But there's so many people that don't move like that.
Yeah, but
so you're like, I don't want to mess this slot up, dude. Are you coming? I sent you a couple things. I'm like, hey, you see this story? I sent you a couple stories. Hey, did you see this? You're like, yep, I'm watching it now. Because I was like, hey, if you see this thing about Sean Combs, somebody on some podcast, and you hit me back like, yeah, I'm watching it now.
Right.
And so we were, it's a little
that
bit
was weeks ago.
But I'm not gonna bug you. I'm like,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
good. And today, like, I jumped in a car. I set the GPS, and then it says, do you want to share your ETA? And I shared it with your number. Like, yeah, I want to share it. But apparently you didn't get it, because then you hit me up like, what's your ETA? And I was like, that's why I was like, boom, 934. But I was assuming that technology fails all the time, people, and kids live by it.
Yeah, I was gonna shoot. I was just gonna say something too. I'm getting old.
I am old. You
Yeah.
say you getting old. I'm already here, bro. I'm here to tell you, it's downhill from here, bro.
Well, I know what I was gonna tell you. I was like, you also have to think the people that I typically deal with. So I schedule about 7 a week in the hope that 4 show up.
Yeah.
Right. So sometimes I get lucky. Sometimes it's 6. But I very seldomly schedule 7 where all 7 show up. Usually it is 4. Because these guys they'll just the day before they'll just skip out, or they'll and a lot of times they don't, or they get nervous. We've had guys show up and want to leave. Like, so yeah, what are you doing? We had a guy drive. We talked about this yesterday. We had a guy drive from Texas,
To here?
on his motorcycle. 30 minutes in, he's like, listen, man, can we just do this another time? Because I'm really feeling uncomfortable, and I'm super nervous. And we're like, what?
Okay.
Like, you're good. You're good. I feel like I'm coming off bad. No, you're coming off good. Like, what are you doing? You can't leave.
Like, this is gold, baby.
Yeah. I'm like, listen, this guy drove 45 minutes to get here. Like, we scheduled the whole day. Like, and he was like, okay, we'll good. So he walked around a little bit, came back, sat down. I was like, okay, I feel better. But it was just like, what are you doing?
People get nervous, man. And this is not natural. Most folks have a fear of speaking in front of crowds.
Right.
We're speaking in front. Bro, you have a huge following. People, like I said, everyone I hit up in my circle, they knew exactly who you were. They're like, yeah, man, I watch this stuff. My brother was all over. He's like, yeah, I watched dude. He's like, yeah, man, he had to sit down, man, financial stuff, right? He in Cincinnati. He's like, yeah, he was financial stuff, right? Yeah. He's like, man, shout out to dude, bro. He sat down, bro. I was like, yeah, he had to, you know what I mean? So he's like, yeah, I think he did a little bit more time than me. And then I watched your story. I'm like, he did a lot more time than you, homie.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I was gonna say that these guys, they don't show up, and they don't, because you got to think they're criminals. Like, and most of these guys get out and they're still barely hanging on, and so they'll just completely flake out.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's cool, and we did come here to talk about Sean. I'm digging the conversation, but I don't want to keep you.
Because listen, I don't know. Like, the problem is that I don't listen to rap, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like. So I hear bits of, like, I know the names, you know, but I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Oh, that's
Right.
You know, I guess, what do they call him now? Diddy?
Yeah. We knew him as Puffy.
Yeah. Oh, Puffy. See,
We knew him as, they call him Diddy now.
and
We
then
knew him as Puffy.
I think
though.
P Diddy. Whenever I hear Diddy, I think P Diddy, because that's
it.
when I think I.
Oh, that was your
understood.
era. It was P Diddy.
P
with him.
Diddy. So, you know, to me, like, I couldn't tell you one of his songs. You know,
Mm.
I could, but even if I would recognize him, I still wouldn't even put the name with it. I do now. But if you'd said, hey, if you put a lineup, which one of these guys is P Diddy? I'd be like, I don't, you know, I might have picked out, you know, Biggie Smalls, you know, until.
But
recently.
that was how he hit the scene, was through Big. So and it's funny though, we talk about, because, you know, I came up in the 70s, right? So we talk about rap. People
Right.
like, well, talking to me, like, what's the first rap song that you know, really rock to and you remember? And I'm like, Devil Went Down to Georgia, Charlie Daniels Band. And they're like, that's not rap. I'm like, go listen to it. He rhyming. The Devil Went Down to when the Devil Went Down to Georgia, he was willing to make a deal. He was way behind. He was in the band. He was willing to make a deal or whatever. I'm sorry, man. But yeah, and then Johnny came out of nowhere like, yeah, how bad are you? I'm so good on this fiddle, I'm going to bet the devil my soul that I'm better than him. Come on, man, that's rap, man. You talk about bragging rights? Bro, I beat the devil.
See, now somebody's going to remake that. Have they already?
No, Charlie Daniels did.
No, I mean, I'm saying remake it. Some, you know,
Like a rapper?
yeah.
Maybe. I mean, I don't
They
know,
can cut
but
that up.
But think about that, man. Johnny got a golden fiddle.
Yeah.
That's hip hop, babe. A golden fiddle? Come on, bro. I'll be walking around like, hey, man, yeah, where did you get that? It be hanging around my neck. Be walking around like, yeah, I got that golden fiddle, bro. Who wants some? Who wants some? But no, that was like, I thought that was like rap. And I was like, to me, that's like the first rap. We should roller skate to that. Kenny Rogers, the gambler, man. Know when to hold him, know when to fold him, know when to walk away, know when to run.
Yeah.
Like, bro, that's game. That's game right there. That's street. So I've always been partial to some country, you know what I mean? I used to watch the Barbara Mandrell show. I don't know if you remember this. I don't know if you're old enough to remember that.
I remember that. I don't think I've ever watched the show, but I remember who Barbara Mandrell is.
And her sisters. I used to watch that shit live, bro. We used to watch Barbara Mandrell, bro. We used to watch Hee Haw. You know what I mean?
Hee-Haw.
Plant City, Florida, population 1,503. Salute. You got to watch. Pull up Hee Haw when you get a chance. Bro, that was some of the funniest. We used to watch that stuff growing up. So for us, the real hip hop is just a clash of all these cultures. And then, of course, you know, rappers that like hit, you know what I mean? Sugar Hill Gang hit. And once that came out, you know what I mean? Hip hop, hippies, the hippity hip hip, the hop, you don't stop a rock. That was the first song. That was the first one that really hit big. But before that, you had, you know what I mean, The Message and all this other kind of stuff. So in New York, that culture was bubbling under for a long time. But for us, it took a while for it to reach the Midwest, and then it hit the South, and then it took off and became what it came. So yeah.
Well, I was gonna say the first time I really actually became like aware of rap would have been the movie Colors. You remember Colors?
I am a nightmare walking, psychopath talking. Yeah, king of my jungle, just a gangster walking. Bro, living life like a firecracker, quick as my fuse, my vendetta is death. Back to colors you choose. You could probably get Ice-T on this podcast. You know that, right? You probably could. You could get Ice on here, bro. I'm for real. I bet, man, Mark, hey, man, we going to work on that. I bet you can get Ice. You might have to go to him. You might have to go to Miami. But I bet you can get
Is
Ice.
he in Miami? I would have thought
He spends time, you know, he
Okay.
spends time. Well, you know, New York because they shoot the show, you know, the
I was gonna say
SVU and all that.
I was gonna say so many people are leaving LA, you know, and New York for Florida. Like it's amazing. When I did Patrick Bet David, he was in Texas. Like they flew me out to Texas.
He was living there for a moment. Yeah, that's right.
No, his whole setup was
there. Yeah.
Like they had like his company. It was like an industrial complex, and you walk in. I mean, it's this massive building.
Same thing. And you need to go down and check him out down in Fort Lauderdale.
I know we actually drove by. We actually drove right by it when I was down
They got two
there.
locations.
Oh, okay.
In Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, I didn't know that. I just saw when we drove right by a building. I was like, "Oh my god, that's Patrick Bet David's place."
Yeah.
I just thought that was the whole thing. It was a huge building.
Man, hit him up. You should go down there and check him out, bro.
Well, I mean, I've already done his thing.
But Pastor Gould, I think he's a cool cat.
No, he was super cool. He was very well. First of all, it upset me. I was a little upset just because he's so tall, and he's very tall, and he was on a platform that must have been like 18 inches tall. So when I walked in the building and I walked into the studio, I was talking to his editor or his engineer. So talking to his engineer, and he goes, "Hey Pat," and I looked up, and he stood up, and I'm 5 feet away from him. And he stood up and it's like you're not already fucking tall enough. You're 6'6", maybe 6'5", and you're standing on an 18-inch platform. And he puts his hand out. I practically had to bend over to shake my hand. I thought,
I think Pat's 6'4", because he and Myron, he might be a hair shorter than Myron Gaines. Myron's like 6'3", 6'4", but he's a big dude.
Yeah, but I'm 5'6", bro. So everybody, if you're 5'7", you're a giant. If you're 5'8", it's like this is ridiculous.
Pat should have told you to sing the Munchkin song or something. You should just start singing the Munchkin song, start walking around.
You know what's funny though? He's exactly the same way when the camera's on. The camera you talked about how the camera comes on, people kind of play a little bit of a role, like exactly the same on camera, off camera.
That's a fact.
Yeah, he was.
That's a fact, brother. When you mention it,
very nice, very cool.
He's very inquisitive and he loves a good conversation.
Yeah,
and he served. He was in the Army. He was air assault. So I was airborne. Airborne and air assault are like brothers, and airborne looks at air assault as the little brothers. Like you too scared to do what we do. Because air assault, basically, you just repel from a helicopter. And it's like, if you're low enough to repel from a helicopter, you might as well land. And now they do fast rope, where they just throw a rope down, you have gloves on, you just quickly slide down a rope like a pole kind of thing, called fast roping. But air assault school, you repel out of the helicopter, whatever. And it's always animosity between airborne, the 101st Airborne Division, and then the 82nd Airborne Division, and then the 101st, which is air assault. And Pat was air assault. So when I first met him, it was at an event at Valuetainment. He came just kind of hang out. He has, at one of their locations, they have a cigar bar attached to it. So it's a cool little cigar bar. You get cigars or whatever. And Pat was in there, walked up, and I'm like, "What's up, air assault?" And he looked at me right away. It got his because, like I said, that's animosity. Like airborne paratroopers and air assault guys fight all the time. We ain't trying to kill each other. We just fight. It is what it is. So when guys be walking around like, "Yeah, we're air assault," and it's like, you know what paratroopers think of air assault, and they're like, "What? Too scared to jump, too lazy to walk. Air assault." And then they get mad. They get mad, like, it's true, bro. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? This is like his own. But when I first met him, I was talking out Army banter, and he was right with it. Like, he lit up. We just, you know what I mean? He's a real cool dude, great conversation. And you're right, he's the exact same person on camera as he is off camera. Hardworking, bro. Very religious man now, but, doesn't shy away from his past. Yeah, man, I ain't gonna lie to you, man. If you ever get a chance to go down there, you should check out one of their events. I'm pretty sure Pat will talk to you, man, and you should do another show. I mean, you did it so long ago, man.
I feel like, he had just gotten to 1 million subscribers, and, I did the show, and since then, the people that he's interviewed, I don't know, I feel like now he's probably more selective about who he talks to. Like, I don't really see him interviewing like criminals or anything, anymore.
I mean, he says that he likes to interview people that he wants to have a conversation with.
Yeah. But he's had that conversation with me.
He's had that conversation, but
all the interest in me is gone now.
Or, I mean, there's a new conversation, man, like these YouTube streets, and, hey, you're still on the straight and narrow, and you're still doing this. I'm just,
Yeah. No, I think, I talked to a guy the other day who was talking about interviewing me. I was like, well, but he has a show that's more geared towards marketing and business. And I was like, do you want to so I was like, well, so you want to talk to me about like, you didn't mention crime. And I was like, okay. I said, well, yeah, I said, I could probably say if you want, because typically I just kind of go over my crime story. And I said, if you want, I said, we could just talk about me getting, I can give you a real quick recap about going to prison, getting out, and then what I'm doing now, because for some reason, people find that fascinating that they're like, you got out at 0. And you're over the last 5 years while on probation, supervised, they call it supervised release. While on supervised release, like you've done really, really well for having the handcuffs on. Because there's tons of stuff I can't do. People are like, why don't you? Oh, you should be doing this, doing that. Okay, well, wait a minute. I can't buy property. Right. I can't anything that I actually have experience in. I'm barred from doing. I can't be in finance. I can't be in real estate, I can't be in development, I can't be in construction. Like
just until you pay that $6 million back, and then
until the 5 years is up.
I'm playing with you.
And keep in mind that too. I couldn't even buy. I can't. I have to ask permission to get a credit card. I have to ask permission to spend more than $500.
From who?
My probation officer.
Damn, I didn't know that part.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I have a financial,
because of the nature of your crimes.
Because I have a financial crime. Like if it was a drug crime, like literally, my wife got out. She saw her probation officer twice, and a year later, he said, "Look, you're fine. You're not in any, or you're not any problems. You're doing great, and you should be able to get terminated." And she sent in a motion, 2-page motion to the judge, said, "I want to get off probation," and he said, "No problem. Take her off."
Rubber stamp.
Because they called probation. He said, "Yeah, she's no problems." The guy literally saw her twice. And keep in mind, she had to fill out a form every month. So do I. The difference is when I fill out the form, I have to break down everything I've made, where the money went. I have to talk about, I have to show my my bank statements, my credit card statements.
Everything.
I have to, it's
Cashapp.
It's a complete breakdown of everything and what I'm doing. I have at the end of the year, I have to do a financial statement. And that thing's like 30 pages long. I have to, there's so many things that are required for me. One, because I was at a very high risk level when I got out. So I had a special probation officer that was stopping by randomly at my house, giving me urine tests. Yep. I don't have a drug problem. Random test, asking me for this paperwork, asking me for that. Giving me just a really hard time about everything. So, I mean, with all that said, I'm saying like the fact that I'm not still living in someone's spare room,
right.
People are like, wow, like you got out with nothing and you've done all this in 5 years.
Commendable, bro.
Right. So that's why I think people,
because you're supposed to go right back in.
Yeah. No, there's a 75% recidivism rate within the first 2 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Because of this. You're supposed to go right back in. Now I want to ask you something, bro. And before I ask the question, like, we're men here. You guys are real cool. I'm open. I'm wide open. I don't care about what I'm about to ask you is not a trap or anything like that. I just have to, nowadays you got to, disclaimers for everything you say.
Right.
I want to talk about race.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So like just keeping it 100. Because you were talking about your wife. She was on papers.
Yeah.
The supervised release, y'all. We talking street here. She was on papers. But she's like, it seemed like she just got right off right away. You think her gender and her race maybe played a little bit into that? Like if she were maybe a black woman or a Latino woman, or if she was a black dude or Latino dude, you think she would have gone the distance on the parole or no?
No, because I think that she immediately got a job.
Okay.
So it's more like you've got a job, you passed I think she took 1 or 2 drug tests. That's when the guy showed up, passed the drug test. She took the RDAP program, which is a residential drug treatment program in prison, and she passed. That's a 9-month program. She took that. She also did all the classes outside of prison. So when you're outside, you have 3 months of, I forget they call it something, maintenance classes, let's say. I don't think that's what they call it.
Like continuing education type
kind
thing.
Kind of like, yeah. So she took all those classes. No, she was in the halfway house when she took them, but she would have taken them if she was out. And I think she stopped by and she was working 60 hours a week. And the guy's just like, you're not a problem. Like these guys have real problems to deal with. Like to me, like the last 3 years, I haven't had any issues with my probation officers because one, they dropped my custody level or my risk level. Mm-hmm. And so the new probation officers have been much more lax. My probation officer here now is much more lax than the last two. And, because there's never been a time I've never gotten any violations. Like I've never gotten a violation.
All right.
So, I've never failed a urine test. I've never anything like that. And every time she comes by, like I'm here, I'm always where I say I am. I'm always so. But you have to think. She's like, I have like. She's like, you're not a problem. She said, I have real people that are problems. And that's the guys that and not. It's not even necessarily because of the individual, but let's face it. If you can't get a job, so luckily. I was able to get a job in the halfway house. When I got out, I was able to sell enough paintings and books that I was able to pay restitution and make enough money to pay rent. And I was able to do some speaking engagement. Like, luckily, the sensationalism of my crime worked in my advantage. But the truth is, what if you're a black guy that got arrested in the hood? You went and did 15 years. They didn't train you to do shit.
No education.
No education. Maybe you got lucky and my buddy Zach and I helped you get your GED.
Okay.
You really weren't trained. Well, they have some stuff you can do. They do have some vocational. Literally, it's years waiting. You're waiting years to get in those programs. And then when you get out, what you've got is, you have a certificate that means nothing, but you do understand the basic understanding of, let's say, how to do, horticulture, which I'm not even sure what you can do with horticulture. Or maybe you can lay drywall, but that's a hard job. And in Florida, it's almost like it's almost like torture.
Yeah.
So you get out, you can't get a job. It's very difficult to get a job. Maybe you end up working at McDonald's, or you work at Wawa, or maybe you get one of these types of, I don't want to say
like bar backing or something like that.
Yeah. But the fact is that you're not. First of all, you're not trained or have experience or capable of getting a job in an institution that pays better, and also you're a felon, so you can't get in that job anyway.
Right.
My wife got out. What she did while she was working, she went to a vocational training course to become a certified marine mechanic.
All right. Oh, okay.
And I was telling her, what she should do? I said, who makes a lot of money is, because they're all just engines. I said, you ought to think about working on being working on airplanes, right? Like an aeronautical
you can do that.
mechanic.
I thought you were going to tell her to open the mortgage brokers. You know what you should do?
No, she. But what happened was she called around. She came back and they were all like, "Yeah, you can take the class. We'll get you your certificate. You'll never it'll be 5 or 6 years after you're off probation before you can even apply to work at an airport." And now maybe you can work at a smaller company. They started explaining it to her. They were like, "But you'd have to be off probation for 2 or 3 years." She's like, "Well, I need to get a job immediately."
Right.
And but for the being a marine mechanic, boat mechanic, she could get a job right away.
Yeah.
And they make decent money.
Here in Florida, I mean,
it's everywhere.
Yeah,
they're everywhere. There's
with the lakes,
everywhere.
Because even.
But think about she had to go to school. She had somebody.
Yeah.
She could live at her dad's place for nothing. Right. She literally worked 40 to 50 hours a week while she was also they let her work. She worked at a dairy plant, bro. You want to know, can you imagine working at a fucking dairy? It's horrible.
It's got to smell terrible.
And it's in the middle of the night. She's getting there at like 8 o'clock when they've shut down. She's in there 7 or 8. She cleans the systems out with tons of chemicals. 6 to 8 hours, or about 8 to 10 hours all night to clean out all the lines, write the certifications up, write the things up, clean them all out so they can be ready for the next day when they start pumping the milking the cows again.
She did this every day?
Yeah, she's doing it like 6 days a week. And keep in mind, these people, most of it is run by Mexicans. A lot of them are illegal. I make that like I don't know. They're illegal, and so it's like 90% Mexicans, or I shouldn't even say Mexicans. It's more like South Americans. A lot of the people were from like Honduras, so it's not just basically South Americans.
Yep.
And so they would They work that industry. And you want to talk about something that's fucked up? This always killed me. Did you know that in the dairy or farming industry in general, that if you work as a laborer and something breaks, if you go over 40 hours a week, because a lot of times like the equipment breaks, so they'll sit around for 4 hours and they'll have them do something else. But if they work 60 hours, they don't get overtime. They don't have to pay them overtime. So 60, 70, 80 hours a week. And these guys work like,
they come here to work, man.
Bust their asses. And
we're not talking about the guest worker program, guys.
No.
We're talking about the people who scamper across the border. And that's another conversation, but it's people like, well, we want to stop, illegal immigration. No, they don't. The 1% don't want to do that. And the thing is, Americans don't want to do that work. And like you said, they're working hard, bro. They can't get overtime. They doing all that. I wouldn't do it. Even when I was younger, I wouldn't do it. I was
thinking about the $20 an hour working at the fast
McDonald's?
food. That's ridiculous. Like, well, here's why I think that's ridiculous. This is my take on it, and you probably have a different take, but that's not really helping those people.
It's not. They're gonna get fired.
No, and even if they don't, let's assume they keep their job. First of all, if you keep your job, all they're going to do is pass that on to the
consumer.
The consumer. So your food so it's really a tax on the poor, because most of the people that eat at McDonald's on a regular basis are lower middle class. So and so now if my food budget is, let's say, 3%, let's say somebody who's making $400,000 a year or something, let's say it's 3%. Let's say food shoots up. It maybe my food budget jumps to 4%. But if you're poor, your budget is 15%. Well, it just jumped to 20 or 25%. Like, it just jumped because you're eating at those restaurants. You don't make enough anyway. That's really a tax on the poor. And on top of that, the people, do you really think that nobody ever owns one McDonald's? They own 14 or 160. So this guy doesn't really care. I'm going to pass it on to you. And what that really to me was, hey, look, we're helping you vote Democrat. The guy at the top, he's a Republican. He's already voting Republican. The guy at the bottom, these people just hurt you. And yet you're thinking $20 an hour, they're helping us. No, they just hurt you. They didn't hurt. First of all, rich people, even if they do eat at McDonald's once a week at best, that doesn't change. Do you think I give a shit that my $2.50 or my $3 hamburgers just jumped up to $4? I don't give a shit.
Yeah, rich people are buying McDonald's to give it to the landscapers when they come home. They're not feeding it to their family.
Right.
Here's my thing on that, bro.
I'll say, so if they really cared about you, they really cared about poor people, they would have raised the minimum wage across the board. But they didn't. You know what I'm saying? Like, that would have been at least it would have been a more evenly distributed, raising across the board, but they didn't do that. You just did this one thing for this one group that doesn't really affect anybody.
Right. So, all right, there's a few things here. I'm no expert, guys. I'm just some retired dude who does YouTubes in his attic. All right. So I'm going to preface it with that. But here's the deal. From what I understand, there was a raise to the minimum wage some years back in Cali.
Yeah.
And it went up to, I think, $16 or something like that.
Okay.
But fast food was excluded for whatever reason, if I understand it correctly. Somehow fast food got excluded or something like that. Or it was, well, this really doesn't help fast food like we want it to help, right? But everyone got a raise. And then the fast food sector, those employees are hurt the most because they're the most vulnerable. They're at the bottom of the spectrum. And living in LA, $16 an hour isn't enough. The other people, minimum wage went up, but the other folks were already making more money. We need to get the fast food industry up, all right? And you're right, it was a political play. This is California. I go back and forth with my buddy about this all the time. I'm like, man, this is a bad move. I don't know if anybody thought this through. But they did think it through. It's just a bad move. So like you said, you got this owner, some guy owns 16 franchises, McDonald's, Burger King, whatever it is. He's already eyeing 4 stores that he wants to get rid of. Now he has the perfect excuse because they knew this was coming. They knew this. They knew what day it was coming. They knew it was coming. I don't know why they didn't write into the law a step up kind of thing. Like we're going from 16 to maybe whatever, 17 something, 18, and then
that's how they did minimum wage across. I mean, for the most part, for most states, it was gradual over the course of like 5 years.
Right, it makes sense, right? So it's like, yay, we're helping the most vulnerable. Okay, now these owners are like, great. Some of them like, that's an excuse I need to close these stores that weren't making money anyway.
Right.
I've been looking for a way to get them off my books. You know what I mean? And then you look at people who are getting $20. Are we going to give you $20 an hour to come drop fries or whatever? Cool. These owners have already been eyeing automation.
Yeah.
We know we're going to bring robots in here, so whatever, we don't care about this.
You just made it worth it. It was questionable before, but now
it's a go.
It's the way to go.
It's a go. And these people we're talking about, because I used to be one of these folks, man, I used to work in restaurants and stuff like that. You're not getting 40 hours a week. You're not getting overtime. You're not getting benefits.
Well, especially now, like nobody hires full time. They hire you for 30 hours because if I give them full time, and that they come out with these laws where they're like, well, if all full time employees have to get health care and have to get a retirement program, great. So I won't hire anybody full time from now on. It'll be people with 30 hours, and they're like, well, we didn't think about that's not right. Well, you should have thought about it. Like, what are you thinking?
Now they did something, and now the politicians can hold their thumb up and they can point to the camera and be like, we did this and da 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 and that thing and the other. They don't care.
Right.
They're bought by the 1% anyway. They're only doing what the 1% allows them to do. So it's 6, like you said, they're not going to get, now instead of getting that 30 hours, they're going to get 27, 26 hours.
Until the automation comes in and then they don't get anything at all.
And we got to let you go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, all right, so that's the downside to it. It's like, all right, I will say at least California is trying something. I don't think that was the best thing to do, but at least they're trying something. Hopefully they'll go in and fix it, massage it. Okay, let's make this a little better. Let's get some incentives, maybe some tax breaks to these, to these people who own these businesses. You know what I mean? Like these franchise owners. Let's try to do something where we can make this a win-win for everybody, but I don't think that's going to happen. And it sucks, right? Going into a recession. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Who some say this recession's already been here. Like, you know, everyone's fudging numbers and this and that, and we're all relying upon housing. That's what's driving the economy. And, you know, maybe 2 or 3, what is it, like 6 companies that drives the stock market right now? That's the only reason the stock market is in like positive territory. There's so many things going on. People are so busy with their lives and on this rat wheel that they cannot, or hamster wheel, whatever you want to call it, they don't have the time to think stuff through.
Yeah.
Right? And Americans aren't even taught to think anymore. Like what are we teaching our kids in school? To be quiet and sit still? They're not learning anything. My daughter's an 8th grader, right? And I was watching some of those YouTube videos where they go to college campuses and, you know, the college students can't name, 5 countries on the planet. They can't name large bodies of waters or whatever, right?
Is this the same conversation we had yesterday? I had this conversation yesterday.
Right.
Yeah. It's horrific. They don't know what continent they're on.
So I asked my daughter, 8th grader, I say, hey, we've been working on this for a couple of years now. You know, now it's like name 3 countries, name 3 states, name 3 cities. You can name the country you're in. You can name the state that you're in. And we go through it. It's a mental exercise. And I'm constantly, all right, because I want to get to bodies of water. And then, okay, what are you studying in history? Okay, let's talk about that. You're talking about the Revolutionary War. Let's talk about that. Let's delve into this. I'm retired. So I get to talk to my daughter every day. I'm not worried about my whole day because that's why my text was confusing. Like, so when are you free? I'm like, I drop my daughter off at this time. I pick her up at that time. The rest of the day is wide open for me.
Right.
Who can say that?
Yeah, no, nobody.
Who gets
and you're exhausted. You work 40, 50 hours a week. You come home, you're exhausted.
You don't want to, you can't.
I also have to teach my child something that they should have learned in school. Yeah.
So that's where we are as a society. I mean, it's not looking good, but okay, I'll give California, okay, bravo, you guys are trying something. But I don't think this is the right way. And then, then people want to talk about politics. They're always talking about, what's going on in D.C. Man, you got to be talking about local politics, bro. Trump or Biden, I'm not a Trump guy, just so people know I'm not a Trump guy. I'm a true American. I want you to vote for and support who you want to support. I love that about America. I can't rock with that dude, but I'm not a Biden guy.
Right.
People are like, oh, so Biden, like, I don't like that dude. That's why I'm pissed at America. Why did you give me 2 shitty choices? I got to sit here and choose between these 2 dudes? Come on, man.
You couldn't put anybody else up.
This is the best we got. You know what I mean? This is the best we got, bro. I'd rather see you in the White House, but what about his criminal? I don't care, bro. Let's get dude a shot. You know what I mean? At least he knows numbers, man. Like, let's get this dude a shot, man.
How many times do we get that in the, you get the Matt Cox 2024, Matt Cox for president.
Hey, bro.
Or there's a guy, Frank Amadeo, that'll be like, Amadeo Cox 2024.
Bro, but my thing is, there's no way in hell that those are the two best choices. There's just no way. So we got to start locally. We got to make some changes.
Polarized. Everything's so polarized.
Split right down the middle, bro. Split right down the middle because people don't have the time to think. And moreover, people aren't taught to think. Going all the way back to, Greeks and all that kind of stuff. What did they do? They thought. I think, therefore I am. No one thinks anymore. Everyone is told what to believe. You know what I mean? And when I had these conversations with folks, man, whether we're talking about race or military or the 1%, because that's my thing, I talk about the 1%. Man, I'm trying to get in that gang. You know what I'm saying? Jump me in, cuz I want to be in the one. I want to be a 1%er.
I used to say, I used to have a business partner named Dave Walker, and he used to say, I'm going to be a Republican. He goes, as soon as I can afford it.
As soon as I can afford it.
He said.
As soon as I can afford it, bro, I want to be a Republican. And as you get older and you start to do well, you tend to drift towards that, more conservative, this and that. I mean, I'm not talking about the Trumper stuff, but I'm just talking about the difference between liberal, like being a liberal, being conservative. There's, I hate it when people just kind of go down a line, party line on this or party line on that. People talk to me about stuff. I'm like, look, bro, I can name 5 things that Biden did good. I can name 5 things that he did bad. I could do that with Trump. I could do that with Obama. I could do that with Bush. I could do that with Clinton. You know what I mean? It's not a total sum game with me. They all screw up, bro. They're human. They make mistakes. Obama could have did a whole lot more, but he didn't. Why? He was thinking about the country. You know what I mean? Bush, W ran the country into the ground. Why? Because he listened to the people around him. He's more worried about what's going on overseas, and everyone overlooked what the banks were doing. They locked you up for what you did, but no one went to jail for the housing crisis, bro. No one? You know what I mean? No one.
People,
like
little,
dude.
Little people at the bottom went.
Bro.
Right.
Bro, and they're doing it again. They're doing it in the car market. You know what I mean? They were predatory lending in that.
There's a whole, like, you understand, the subprime loans are back.
Yes.
Like same thing, they call them liar loans or no doc loans.
Yeah, the ninja stuff and all that.
They're back. They're back. Like right now I was talking to a guy, talking to a mortgage broker, and he was like, bro, he's like, no doc. We got no doc loans right now. He said it's a little bit different than it used to be, and he means back in the early 2000s, a little bit different. He said, but yeah, he said we used to be able to get them for like 90%, 95% loans, LTV. He said, you'd have to put down 20%. He said, but you can get it with no doc now. Nothing. So,
bro, explain, somebody riddle me this. How is it that we know we've been printing money like crazy? We know the deficit's out of control. We know this is a huge problem. We know that the commercial real estate sector is about to take a huge dump. We know this. We know that the holdout regional banks are about to go under. We know this, yet, with the interest rates high and housing still stable and high and going up, I don't understand how that works. I'm not in the field. I don't know. Like I said, I'm just some silly guy who used to jump out of airplanes. But that math don't seem to math to me. If I want to buy this house, it's $700,000 or whatever. There's no way in hell I could get financed at 7% if I'm making what the average American household is making, like right around $78,000 a year. You know what I mean? So, I don't get it. And, I'm sure there's some 1% money or, they're saying that it's investor money, it's portfolio, like the big guys are, Wall Street is buying up all these single family homes or whatever. But you would think that the politicians would do something about that, but they can't. Why? Because they are owned by the 1%, and the 1%, like, we making money on this, don't touch it. It's like you say this housing stuff, this predatory lending is about to start again. Why? Because they're going to make some money on it. I mean, like I say, man, I don't know, bro. But, yeah, I don't know. But it's just one of those things, man, it blows my mind. Like, what the hell is going on? Americans can't afford nothing. Nothing, bro. Buy now, pay later on groceries these days. We in trouble, man. People can't buy groceries. They got to pay for it later. Oh. Like we got a problem. So when do you think it's all going to come crashing down, or will it come crashing down?
No, I think it's already slow. I think it's already, the signs are obviously already there. It's slowly happening. What's really funny is that everybody thinks that Trump's going to get in the White House and be able to fix it. Like, there's no fixing it. Like, to me, if I was Trump, I'd be like, honestly, I would not want to be president in the next 4 years.
He don't want to get locked up. That's why he wanted the job.
Because I think it's because I think that as the economy starts to drift down, like, I think at some point it just kind of, goes very, very quickly. But it's already inventory is already gone up from being, it was 30 days to 60 to 90 to, now it's almost at, 6 months to 8 months now. There's tons of people, they're putting their houses up. They're dropping their houses by 20%, 30%, and they're not selling.
So no one can get financed.
Well, it's a combination of things. So one, a lot of people aren't putting their house up for sale because they have a 1 or 2% interest rate, right? Or 3%. Like you've got a very low interest rate. Right. I can't I talked to a guy in California. He was like, look, I wanted to move from California. He's like, I will never be able to live in the house that I'm living in again in my life. He said, based on my payment. So I'm staying. Facts. Just because I'm in this payment on a house that's worth $1 million or $2 million. He's like, I'll never buy a $2 million house. He's like, and I'll never be at the interest rate that I'm at right now. So he's like, I'll never be able to afford something like this again.
And he can't retire because he has to keep working because California's going to keep raising, taxes. So he's going to keep getting reassessed and paying more.
Well, and I think that's one problem. I also think that obviously inflation has inflated the prices of the houses. So you think that your house is worth more, but your house isn't worth more, and then and people aren't selling. There's inflation. So it's collapsing as we speak, but inflation is keeping the numbers artificially high. So you think to yourself like, no, my house is worth $400,000. It's not worth it. It's worth $400,000, but the dollar isn't worth what it was. And your house is actually collapsing right now. You don't know that. But the problem is at some point, just like now, they're already laying off people at Amazon. They're laying off people
everywhere
in factories and making food and all these different companies that are slowly laying them off. Well, what happens when those people can't get new jobs and they can't pay their payments and now their houses go into foreclosure and these companies up the line can't buy these houses from them because they bought so many and they see that it's happening. Like it's slowly, it's not something that even the 2008 financial crisis. Okay, well in 2008 was when they said, late 2008 was when they said, we're in a financial crisis. It started in 2007. By late 2008, it was like, okay, we're definitely in a crisis. But it was really 2009 when things were just, the banks are going under, left, right, left. And that's what they're doing now. They're starting to go under. So I'd say in the next year or two, honestly, I'll be honest, I am absolutely in shock it's lasted this long. 4 years ago, I would have told you 18 months. I was sort of said that 4 years ago. But did you ever see The Big Short?
I did. Great movie.
Remember the I forget the guy's name where he was screaming at like Goldman Sachs and everybody. He was like, "You guys are you're fudging the numbers. You're artificially inflating the market. You're inflating the numbers." Like because he knew based on the numbers, like why isn't everything in free fall right now? The numbers say it should be, but it went another. It took another year or so before they couldn't. They couldn't fake it anymore, and then it was just a straight dive.
Yeah, and that's when they started doing that criminal stuff. They started fudging the book, so they were, okay, now we're in a position to do this. It was that scene when the Michael Burry character is like, oh, you're calling me now because now you've gone and bought yourself some whatever they were selling, and now you're in a position that you can go ahead and properly price my instrument.
Right.
Basically, y'all just robbed me.
Yeah.
Of maybe billions.
Yeah.
He has so many, bro. I mean, I'm just saying, man. And another thing I just want to say real quick, I'm sitting across the table from a guy who raised the zip code. You raised the price of the zip code. I'm like, bro, I've been to Ybor City, man. I probably performed in one of your old homes. It's a comedy spot in Ybor called The Gimmick.
Never heard of it, no.
Bro. But I bet you if you went down there, like, oh yeah, that was one of mine.
What's amazing now is driving by, looking at houses that I bought for $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 that are selling, that are now on the market for $450,000. You're like,
it's dark energy.
Like, what changed?
It's dark energy, bro. It's like the science is like, what's this thing that holds up the universe? Oh, it's dark energy. It's dark matter. That's what's going on right now, bro. It's dark matter, bro. You know what I mean?
You know what's funny is but there's another movie about the housing crisis, but it's from more of a macro point of view.
Was it Too Big to Fail?
Too Big to Fail. What a great movie.
When they talked about the Great Depression, when it was like it was the lack of credit that caused the Great Depression. That one scene, that was a great scene.
Yeah.
I always quote scenes from movies. I'm a Guy Ritchie guy. I know you're a Tarantino guy, but normally I'm always like, I did my research. Normally I like quote movies. My favorite lines from a bunch of Guy Ritchie movies. He hasn't covered that. He does all the gangster stuff. But no, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. I was gonna say The Big Short. Because I was saying The Big Short, remember when they come to Florida and they meet the mortgage brokers? They're like, yeah, bro, like I basically, I focus on like strippers, to be honest with, those three idiots that they were talking to, those I had 12 of those guys.
Oh shit.
They were all just like that, complete morons.
And that scene was like, he was like, why are they confessing?
Yeah.
Like, no, they're bragging.
Yeah.
That was, bro, you do a movie like that, you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Scene.
Oh, it was a great scene, bro.
Because listen, both those movies are just, God, they really tell the story. Like they really explain from the, because it's funny when people will, every once in a while in the comment section, I'll get these guys that are like, it's people like you that ruin this country. It's like, bro, are you joking? I was one of the idiots who's, I was like a foot soldier. It's the generals and the president. Yeah. It's those top guys that were making the decisions that were destroying everything. Like I'm a foot soldier.
Yeah, it's the Capos and the Godfathers, bro. I'm just following orders.
Yeah. I'm nobody compared to the trillions.
Like, you weren't even the plug, really. Everything you did, you weren't even the
no,
plug.
I wasn't. I was the dealer I was the guy like, what you need.
Right. You on the block, you cranking. Like, I'm not even the plug here.
You know what's funny? So I forget how many trillions of dollars the TARP. So do you remember when they were like, we'll never see that money back? Do you know that like 90-something% of that money was paid back?
Yeah.
Almost all of it was paid back. Remember they were like, we're going to own these banks. We're going to be in the banking and, the company's going to, or the country's going to end up owning all the financial banks. Like, this is chaos. We'll never get this money back. We're destroying the American, our future. 90% of that money was paid back.
And that shows you how money moves, bro. It shows you, and you were in a business, and it shows you you're like, bro, I don't even understand what they did. You know what I mean? And you're a smart guy. Like, you're like, bro.
Oh, it's so complicated. Like, that's really probably why these people didn't end up going to prison. It's so overly complicated. How can you explain it?
Margin Call. Did you see that movie? Watch that one.
I've seen about half of that movie.
Watch that one. Because the scene where they're in the boardroom, and they were like, they're reading over, like, who are you? They're going over his resume. Like, so you're a literal rocket scientist.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. And that's the guy that's doing all this market stuff. No wonder nobody understands anything. It's like, bro, a tranche? The hell is that?
Yeah. It's
you know what I mean?
It's insane. Yeah, I love the whole thing where he's like, well, and this is going to happen. It's, oh no, it's already happened.
Yeah.
We just don't know yet. We haven't seen the effects yet, but it's going. But look at the things that they did. They were selling out their own clients. They were like, that is such a huge conflict of interest when you're allowed to trade your clients' money for profit, and you can bet against it. And it's like, and your only real concern at that point is I'm not doing what's right for my clients. I'm doing what's right for my business. Man, that shouldn't be legal.
It is illegal, right? I mean, if they catch you, they figure out what you did. It is illegal, isn't it?
No,
it's not illegal.
No,
Jesus.
No, these huge firms that there was, and I want to say the person that made that legal. I hate to say this, but I want to say it was somebody will correct me. I'm pretty sure it was George Bush that made it legal for these major companies to start trading their clients' money for I forget how they put it, but basically it made it acceptable for them to start moving money and betting money and trading money for the profit of the company.
So all that deregulation is probably one part of that apparatus where kind of maybe it was a law and then they undid it.
I think the Dodd-Frank Act, wheeled it back, but the Dodd-Frank Act is also being slowly dismantled over the last 10 years.
That's what they do. We slow you down and y'all break the rules down and we slow you down. And then, I mean,
I forget what the term is where they say they create they try and get something passed and they say, well, we can't pass it. Okay. So then they create a crisis. And when people say, we have to fix it, they say, we can fix it. We have to pass this law to fix it. So you created a crisis in order to get a body of legislation through to fix the crisis, but really you created it. There was no crisis before you created it, right? But we wanted to get this through. We wanted to be able to read your emails.
It's like, bro, I'm the builder and the arsonist.
Right.
We need to drum up some business, man, burn the building down.
And the insurance salesman.
And the fireman.
Right.
But yeah, bro, it's that's the world we're living in. And my thing is, I like to accept things as they are. Yeah, that's messed up, but what can we do? How do we prepare ourselves? It's just like when I talk to young men about dating and all that kind of stuff, right? They get so upset. Man, I can't believe this. Women get all the choices and that and then this and that. They only want tall guys and blah, blah, blah. Hey, listen, bro. All I can do is explain to you the rules of the game. This is how the game is being played today. The rules might change tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm telling you where it is right now. I'm going to give you the knowledge. You do with it what you want. If you want to sit here, go home, eat Cheetos, and cry about it, that's on you. Or you can go ahead and take this knowledge and get out here and get better. You know, I'm looking for the next opportunity. If they start doing the ninja loans and all that kind of stuff, and they start letting people buy, you know, property after property, man, I'm jumping on that. Yeah. Not because I'm trying to get over, but because I can actually afford a couple.
Right.
And I can just go ahead and hold on.
You're not going to beat the government at the game that they've made their own rules.
Man, the government can beat Vegas. Right. Can't nobody beat Vegas but the government. So I don't want to mess with those guys. They're playing cards and they're looking at everybody's hand. And they're moving and betting accordingly. It is what it is, man. I can't get too mad. Because what can we do about it at this end?
Right.
We can vote people in, but that takes a couple, you know, you'd be looking at 8 to 12 years before your people could get in there if they don't get bought out. You know what I mean? People
if they can change anything once they get in. Can you get the bills passed? Can you get the House, you know, and the Senate to vote on it? Do you have the votes? Do you have the?
Will the president veto it?
Stop,
I mean,
man,
right?
Stop.
It's so much.
You better just if you know how the system works, then you work the system.
Like I just want this. I think that even though all this other stuff is going on, I would like to see two things. I would like to see people work on family law, family court law, and I would like to see people work on prison reform.
Right.
It would be nice if we could just kind of work on those two things, right? Because we do want to rehabilitate people and stuff like that, but prison, man, especially like the tough prisons, man, it's gladiator school, bro. All you doing is, I knew guys that got locked up when we were kids, came back.
I was gonna say you'd be better off just executing people. Because you're turning these guys into monsters.
Monsters,
like they'll go in kind of with a kid with a chip on his shoulder, and they'll come out an absolute monster. He's not working. I'm sorry, that guy's not working at Walmart.
He ain't never doing that.
He's never going to do. He's just going to go out and he's going to be an absolute monster.
Gonna be a beast,
right?
You know, and he's plugged in now, not just with everybody in his town, plugged in with everyone in the region.
Everyone he was in prison with.
Right, and that's the whole region. So I get locked up in Cincinnati. I wind up going, all right, I'll go upstate or whatever, but I'm sitting down with guys from New York, from Philly, from Miami, from Atlanta. You know what I mean? I might be some guys in there from Kansas City. When I get out, they like, yo, holla at me.
Right.
I mean, it's just like, what am I going to do? I'm going to go straight and narrow? Or this guy trying to give me $50,000, man, just to move this bag from point A to point B. I can't get a job. I got my kids need stuff. You know what I mean? I'm looking at my situation like, bro, you know what? It might be worth it.
You know, it would be better if they took any drug offenses and just let those guys out, or gave them a much, much lighter sentence, forced them to go through a drug rehab program in prison, and took all that money. You can keep half of it, take the other half, and just put it into free drug rehabs throughout the country.
I would legalize drugs, man. I would legalize.
Well, no, I would also legalize drugs. I would legalize more than marijuana, like
everything.
Yeah, because it's horrific, but. You know, the truth is it would weed out the true junkies and give them an opportunity to clean up. And if they don't want to, well, then they don't have to, and they don't have to rob me to get to get their drugs. And if they're functional addict, then you can be a functional addict. Like my dad was a functional addict, you know, and I've known lots of functional addicts. Like they're going to be laborers. They're going to be picking tomatoes and working in the field, and it's going to be horrific. But they can do that and function as an addict, and they don't have to rob you because the drugs are so cheap.
Right.
You know.
I would. And
if they want to get clean, they have somewhere to go to get clean for free.
And that's the point I was going to make. I'm with you on that. Legalize everything. I don't care what it is. Legalize it. You want to go get you some drugs, you go down to the federal drugstore on the corner. It's all regulated by you go and get whatever potency you want, whatever it is you want. You ain't going to die from it. Like you said, you ain't going to rob for it. And let's say you do go out and rob and try to, rob for it, you get caught. The police aren't wasting their resources going after drug dealers. All they got to do is go after the user. And if you catch somebody, you got to do time. Now you're going to jail, which is basically rehab.
Right.
You're doing your time and you're getting clean, and you got people in there, so you're not worried about all this craziness, and they can educate you and help you, whatever. So when you come back out, maybe you don't, you don't fall down that trap again. But if you do, same thing. So who's going in and out of the system is these people who need to help, these drug addicts.
I was going to say, but even that, what you're saying, even if it's a revolving door, it's for a select few.
Right.
It wouldn't be the massive amount of people that are incarcerated right now.
Right. I mean, because when you were locked up, bro, and the real criminals, like the hitters, the hard. I mean, how many guys are like real hardened murderers, like hitters? How many dudes in there were like that? It's just making up a percentage.
Maybe 10%, 20 at the most, 20 and 20, more like 10 to 15%.
Max.
Yeah, because, and I would say it's even that high because they don't have an option. Like they're going to get out and they're going to go right back to what they're doing because there's no alternative. Listen, I taught the real estate class. And I didn't teach these guys, hey, you can become a mortgage broker, you can become a real estate agent. I didn't say any of that. I'm saying, like, some of them could, if it was just drugs or something, they can get out. I know tons of guys that had drug charges, did 5 years, 10 years, got out, became a real estate agent or became a mortgage broker. That's very possible. As long as you don't have 20 years worth of in and out.
And no banking crimes, probably.
Yeah. Oh, no. If it's that would be considered an act of moral turpitude where you actually took advantage of someone financially.
Okay.
So like I couldn't get it, but I do know someone who went to prison on a wire fraud, went to prison, got out, is now a real estate agent. And so that can be done. That's very possible. But then again, it was only one charge, but she also went to prison. Mm-hmm. So it's not like it was probation. You went to prison. So that's very possible. I would say that that class that I taught in prison was I never didn't have not only a full roster, it was the most popular class, and I taught it for 10 years because all of these guys wanted to figure out how they could get out of prison and do something to make money legally. Most of them had never had jobs. So these guys are like, how can I didn't say you can be a broker or I told them how it's possible. But what you can do is you can flip properties. And then I explained to them how to find the properties, how to find the hard money investors, what the ratio was, whether it was going to be a good deal, everything from carrying costs to
the whole nine.
The whole nine. So I went through that whole thing, even credit, how to leverage your credit in order to if you don't have the money, but you have good credit, then you can go get a personal loan and use that personal loan
for the down.
No, not for the down. No, because you don't even need the down. If it's a rehab, you just need the hard money guy. I'll give you all the money, especially if you have the money to put in the property. Like, hey, I got $30,000 to do the renovations. I just need you to get the property. So he'll give you the 65% of the aftermarket value or after rehab value. So if it's going to be able to be sold for $100,000, he'll give you $65,000, and you're buying the property for $40,000, right? So he'll give you $65,000, and he'll escrow that money, but he won't give you the money to do the rehab. You have to put your money up at first to get this guy to do the drywall. Then he'll release the money. They'll usually release it three times.
Yeah. I got a buddy of mine who did that, and then he was telling me it was done in stages. You come in, yeah.
Typically 3. Now they'll come out. Most of them they'll be like, I'll come out 10 times, but you get, and they're all different, by the way. But they're like, but you get 3 times for me to come out for free. You want me to come out after that? It's $200 every time I come out. So it's like, use your head.
Yeah. Be smart.
Yeah, I'll come out every week. Because I get $200 for driving out, cutting you a check, driving. It's an hour out of my day, and it's at my disposal. I mean, at my discretion when I can meet you. I'll meet you when it's convenient for me. I have the money. He with the gold makes the rules. But I would explain all of this over the course of 10 weeks. Let me tell you, there were guys that sat in that class 3-4 times.
Just learning, like, I'm going to get this.
Not just that. There was this one guy that I would turn on when I was explaining alternative financing. And there was this one guy. And I remember I turned around, I said, okay, this is this is a subject to purchase. And I explained what a subject to purchase was, went through the whole thing. I said, okay, now you can also get them to finance it even if they already have a mortgage. And I explained the whole system. And I said, this is called I go, shoot. And the guy in the back of the room, he goes, wraparound mortgage. And I go, that's right, wraparound mortgage. I mean, he wouldn't do that once. This is like every other class.
So he could teach the class.
He could teach the class. By the way, he also got out of prison, sold his mother's house. She had died. His brother had been trying to sell it for 6 months. He got out, called me on the phone one time to ask me one question, sold that, and actually sent me money in prison. It's like $50, but the truth is he didn't owe me $50. You know what I'm saying? Like the fact that he sent me $50.
That's love. Wow. He go $50 for you, bro.
Right. And $50, by the way, $50 in prison is like you just sent me $500.
For real.
So, but I mean, he knew, like, I don't know what he's doing to this. They called him Tex. I remember they called him Tex too. Older black guy, probably in his late 50s. God, he'd been locked up for like 15 or 20 years, bro. But listen, I wonder. Because think about it. In that house that they sold, he sold it for $50,000. His brother was trying to sell it to some buddy for 20 grand, 25 grand. And the guy, they couldn't figure out how to get clean title. I explained to him, all you got to do is this and this and this. Go to the title company, tell them this. You're going to get clean title. Boom, they sold it for 50 grand. Put a sign in the front yard. For months, his brother couldn't even go to Home Depot and get the sign.
That's how it be. Texas is a millionaire right now. You know that, right?
I'll bet you Tex is doing well. I hope he's still
legally. I bet you he's like set and good.
I hope. Listen, what a great guy, and knew and sat through the class over and over. Every book I suggested he read. Look, there's nothing new in real estate. It's the same basic concept over and over. It's subtly packaged a little bit different, but it's all pretty much the same.
Just
shit.
a variant on a play, maybe.
Exactly.
Like Fresh and Fit, man, like 1.5, 1.6 million subs. They're tied into. I was in the studio with those guys hanging out. I met Andrew Tate. Like Tate came in before all the drama.
Right.
Cool dude, bro.
Right.
Cool, great conversation, man. Real mellow dude. You could tell he's been through some shit. Real good. But then cameras go on, action, and everyone gets in character a little bit.
Yeah.
So when people say, man, he's this and that, I'm like, bro, you ain't never met him. Like I was in the room with the dude. I'm trying to let you know he's not a scumbag.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, it's funny because I've mentioned him before. Well, let me tell you, controversial. Like if you mention him at all, you're going to get either hate or people agreeing with you. Just one or the other. And it's like, and I've said like, look, I believe like 80 to 85%. I may have said 90% of what he's saying. Like I'm good with it. There's 10% where it's like, I'm a big believer in monogamy.
Right.
You're with one woman. Like that's like this is your wife. This is that. Like, oh, I don't care if I can afford 5 wives. Or oh, you should be able to do this. You should. Okay, well, I disagree with that, but I agree with these parts of like. Pull yourself up by your bootstrap. Be a man. Work out. Improve. If women aren't paying attention, to you, it's not them. It's you.
Yep.
Improve yourself.
Yep.
Be the person that they want to be. If that's what you're going for, then do that. But don't sit back and play video games and complain about the fucking world because the world don't give a fuck about you.
They don't get, bro. You know that more than anybody, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And we all do. Like people talk about stuff, man. Like bad guys and good guys. I'm like, what's a bad guy? What's a good guy? I did America's Business. I was a paratrooper in the United States Army, bro. We did some shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? So who's the bad guy? Who's the good guy? Depends on what color your uniform is. Depends on what hemisphere you're in.
I was going to say there are horrific things have been done in the to further your agenda, which you believe is right. Because you're in power and because that's your belief system. Like this, you never know. But I did clearly break the law. But I'm saying like let's face it. 5 years ago, I'm in a halfway house with $400. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't don't sit here and tell me
work your way out of that shit.
No place to go, nobody to help me. So, to sit there and say, how the world's got you down. Are you fucking serious, bro?
Hey, bro.
You know what I'm saying? Come on.
I tell you like this, man. At least you broke the law. And you're like, yeah, I broke the law.
Yeah.
My brother had to sit down for 5 years. He didn't do shit. He was just with the wrong people. And people like, that never happens. I'm like, it does happen.
That's bullshit. You know what happens more than anything? What happened? And nobody says anything because what they typically say, well, you broke the law, then you deserve what they give you. Really? So I had a gun, and I brought a gun to a fucking $10 crack sale, and I should be locked up for 25 years. Didn't use the gun. Maybe the gun wasn't even there. Maybe the gun was actually in my house, but they said, hey, you were using that gun to protect your gun trade. When you arrested me, did I have the gun? No, but you've had it before. You don't know that. Well, go to trial then. Get life. Or you can take 25 or 15. It's like, I was selling Coke. And I've got to do 25 years because I've been arrested one time for getting into a fight and because I have 2 previous drug sales or whatever the criteria is for. Sometimes it's one drug sale and a violence charge. And I had a gun, so I hit a mandatory minimum of 15 or 25 or 30 years. It's like, that is so overwhelmingly unfair. And then you're going to send me to prison. You're going to do nothing to fucking help me rehabilitate myself. Get out. I'm going to now reoffend because let me tell you something. Every time I've started to look at my bank balance and I'm thinking, fuck, I may not have enough next month to pay my bills. The first thing I think of, my first thought is fraud.
Yeah.
Because you know what's going to work.
I can get this.
Right. And it's the same thing with a drug dealer. I can go talk to so-and-so. I can get this. Within a week, I can have all my fucking bills. And it's a risk, but I'm not hurting anybody. You're going to tell yourself whatever you want to tell yourself to justify it. But the bottom line is I can tell you from experience, being raised a white guy, upper middle class with an education, my first thought when things are bad, fraud.
I'm going to get this money.
Right. I don't think, you know what I don't think? I'm going to have to get another job. I'm going to have to, and I don't have any responsibilities. I don't have 2 fucking kids. I don't have anything. What if you've got 2 kids and you're restrained by your ability to get a second job?
Right. You can't. You're a felon. I'm telling these young guys, hey, the FAA is looking for air traffic controllers. No experience necessary. You don't need college. They train you. They pay you for training. It's a great career. Bro, you got a record. We can't do nothing with that.
Right.
And you're like, but I'm a good guy. I made one mistake when I was 17. Hey, you fucked on me. I don't know what to tell you. Join the military. No, Army won't take you. Marine Corps won't take you. And like you said, even as a guy I've been away from the streets for a long time, but like you say, you look at something like, I need to get this bread. It's not even me on the street cranking. It's just me making a connect. Like me set up this meeting between these 2 guys, and this dude gonna give me a tip just because I put him on. you know what I mean?
Listen, I know a guy who had no felony. He's never been in trouble. His name is Brandon. Huge guy. He's like 6'4", white guy. As a docile, he was a bouncer at a club, but he's docile.
That's cool.
But he's a big guy.
Gentle giant.
Right. And some chick comes up to him and says, do you know, she's like, look, she was on oxys or something. He's like, and she's like, look, I'm in a bad way. I this, I that. And he's like, well, I don't deal drugs. I don't know anything. He's like, I don't know anybody with oxys. He said, I don't know if he said he did, or he said, I know somebody who sells heroin. Whatever it was, he said, I mean, I can give you a phone number. He's like, but I don't do that. But I mean, I know a guy who I know does it. And she was like, give me his number. Gave her the number. And 2 weeks later, he gets arrested for
conspiracy or
death. She died. The guy sold her heroin. She died. They grabbed him. How'd she get to you? This guy, Brandon, at a club fucking sent her to me. Never sent him anybody else. Doesn't know anything. He said, I actually thought I'm helping her. She said, I'm sick. I feel horrible. I need oxys. He said, well, he sells heroin. He may have oxys. Whatever that conversation was. He said, actually told myself I was doing the right thing. They charged me with her death or murder, whatever they call it.
Probably manslaughter or something like that.
No, this is federal. He got 25 years. He went to trial. What a fucking mistake.
What did they offer him?
Like 10, but that's what happens. They offer you 3, you say no, they give you 15. You know, I got a buddy Donovan, same thing. I know so many guys that. So it's more the disparity in the sentencing, like what you deserve compared to what you actually got. That's where you really, if you say, oh, innocent people in jail, absolutely, but not because they didn't break the law. But what happened was they stole a candy bar and you chopped their fucking hand off.
Yeah, he did something.
Right. He made a call thinking it's innocent, or same thing. You made a small drug sale, and the next thing you know, you're getting 15 fucking years. Or worse, they said 5 years. You're saying, I don't feel like I deserve 5 years. I'm going to go to trial because when you caught me, I didn't have anything. And you just got 2 people that said I was there. You don't really know that. I'm going to go to trial. Boom, you lose at trial, you get 15 years. I could tell you story after story. Not that guy's innocent, but he really only deserved a few years, if not probation. You said 5. He said, fuck you. He went to trial. He gets 15. That's what bothers me.
That's fucked up. Meanwhile, real criminals are doing real bad shit. They can afford to get the lawyer team in there. They get the dream team in there. Maybe it be the case. Maybe it gets whatever. Then they go to a camp. Like, that shit ain't right, man.
Look at Elizabeth Holmes. She got 12 years, billions of dollars. I have a loss amount of $6 million. I got 26 years. 6 million, 26. Her. I didn't have her team though.
Right.
I'm not a woman. I didn't have her team. I didn't get to say I'm pregnant. I didn't get to say all the things that I was abused by this man.
You didn't get to cry.
I don't have that luxury. Oh, I cried.
He said, I tried it. It turned the water.
No, I cried. I cried my ass off. I not tried. I cried, but that didn't work. Not with the judge.
That's what's up, man. So you want to talk about Puffy for sure? Like bring you up to speed on that. Let you know what that is, and you're just gonna let it go from where?
Yeah, but I think first we talk about a little bit about just what you've already kind of gone over, like who you are, how'd you're in Tampa, what you're doing the podcast. But let's start with so I was born here, in this whatever the area you were born in, mom, dad, everybody around me is getting in trouble. Kind of move through that, and then we can get to that point where you're running a podcast, and we'll just kind of get into the whole. You can explain the whole. It's like I've heard these names and stuff, but let's face it, I listen to country music.
I ain't mad at you, bro. I ain't mad at you, bro. I ain't mad at all. You know what I'm saying? And it's I love having these conversations because we forget the world is getting smaller, but these bubbles are just different dimensions. And everyone's floating out this thing. And, you know, you might know some shit about meth. Like, I don't know nobody to fuck with meth, bro. Never. That's just never been our thing. You know what I mean?
My wife did 5 years for a meth conspiracy.
What?
Yeah.
But I know people this, you know, shit, when it was that powder and that rock. You know what I mean? I came up in the 70s and 80s. You know what I mean? So...
Well, imagine me being thrown into a federal prison where it was a medium. I would say 70% of all the guys in the medium were black guys. 90% of them were there for drugs. The rest were fraud, because that's when they were all doing the tax scam. That was big.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it's still big, but not like it was for a while. And then, you know, then it's Mexicans and very few whites. Probably was 30 or 40 white guys. So I get there. And it's, you know, when I'm talking to these guys, you know what's funny too? Colby heard me say this the other day. I probably said this 10 times to some people, but, you know, prior to going into that whole thing, being in prison with those guys, and I taught GED for like 3 years.
Okay.
So I really have a lot of interaction. But prior to going into that environment, I would have said, you're a black guy, you're in jail, you deserved it, you had plenty of chances, you were, you know, and then, well, I was born in the projects, I was born here. Listen, some of those guys, the first time they've ever had a longer conversation, more than 5 minutes with a white guy, was with me.
Yeah.
You know, or somebody that was successful, that wasn't, somebody who was successful that wasn't selling drugs. Because everybody they know in their neighborhood that is successful is selling drugs. They don't have a father. So their mom's working two jobs. They're at home. All the males that have money and girls are selling drugs. They have no positive influences.
None.
And so, you know, they start selling drugs. And then the worst thing is if they're good at it. Because now, oh, great, you're good at it. So you're not stupid and you don't get caught right away. You get big enough to get yourself a federal fucking charge and do 15 years off the rip. And you're like, the fuck happened? Like, so-and-so got arrested 10 times. He's been in and out. Yeah, but he's selling little bits and pieces and gets busted for a little piece. You fucking were selling bricks.
You the plug, bro.
Right. Yeah, you moved up. Well, that's how you make more money. Right, and that's how you get more time. And now you're done.
There's a rapper. The rap group. It's called Underground Kings, UGK. One of the rappers' name is Pimp C. Pimp C is dead. He overdosed on that lean or whatever it was, died in Hollywood years and years ago. But he has a bar, a line. And it goes something like this. Like, if I told you cocaine numbers, you would think I was lying. Young brothers 22 talking about their retirement. And people are like, what does that mean? I'm like, you have no idea how much money is in the cocaine business. Like, and if I told you what the money looked like, you wouldn't believe me.
Right.
And they're like, really? I'm like, bro, I can go from literally, like smart guys you're talking about, can go from getting fronted maybe a 50 pack, $50 worth. And within a year, he'd be sitting on $2 million. And if he break it all the way down to work and smart, you don't spend none of it, do whatever, and roll over money and everything, they were like, there's no way you could do that. I'm like, yeah, man. And that was that was back in the 80s and 90s. Like today, they could probably do that in 6 months if they do it right. You know, you can work your way up from being fronted, you know, $50 worth of dope, getting out there, coming back, getting yourself up to, you know what I mean, maybe an ounce or two, getting yourself up to a quarter, to a half, to a thing.
Yeah, my wife talks about how, and then we'll start. I was going to say, she literally, you know, she was selling meth, obviously, to support her habit and her kids. Mm-hmm. And she talks about how one time, she's like, I was at a gas station and looked up and there's this Mexican guy there. This is in Okeechobee. You know where the Lake Okeechobee is?
Yeah.
And which is where she grew up. And she kind of looks up and he looks at her and she goes, I hadn't seen this guy in 6 months. And she said he used to buy from me, and he goes, "Hey, you still in the business you were in?" And she's like, "Yeah." He goes, "I want to introduce you to somebody." And she goes, "Okay." He goes, and he said, like, meet me here at whatever. So they meet on the side of the road. She said it's another Mexican guy he said his cousin. She goes, I found out later, like he just got out of prison. And she said he works with the cartel, and he walks over and he goes, "Hey," and he goes to the back trunk and pulls back like a sheet or something. And she said there's like half a key and a meth. And she said, he goes, just showed it for a minute and he goes, "Do you think you can get rid of that?" And she goes, "I mean, I can try. I don't know how quick but I can try." And he goes, "Okay." He said, "I'm going to front you this." Just gave it to her.
Half?
Yeah, and she said, keep in mind, she said, I've got people that I'm selling to, and I've got people I give, and some people I sell to that they sell to that, they're just distributing. She's like, but at that point, now all I'm doing is distributing. She goes, and these people are now taking large chunks. She said, so I got, in 2 weeks, she's like, it's gone. And she's already going back for so I have the money, I get the second half. So she's very quickly, like, who do you trust with something like that? Like, that's kind of the amount of money you just gave this person, the amount of money she could make that quickly. And she's not in a position where she should have that kind of money going through her hands. But if you're responsible and you're smart, you can turn that into a lot of money. The problem is, once again, next thing you know, you're looking at 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah,
and you don't realize it.
Somebody going to do something stupid, and they going to point right to you.
Yeah.
Got it from her. What you need me to sign, officer? Yeah, I'm signing it.
Oh, yeah. Now you can do that time. I'm sorry.
I live by that, bro, man. Don't do the crime if you can't do the time. You come at me with something, I'm like, bro, I'm sorry, bro. I don't want to help you sell them cookies, bro. Nah, tell your guy, I don't know this. I don't know who made them cookies, man. I ain't got nothing against the Girl Scouts, but I don't know who made them cookies, bro.
So I don't the microphone, right? Like, you're using a regular mic, right? Yeah. So you want to basically be within this,
right there.
And you're so.
While we're talking, I'm doing that. But when we do the show, I'll make sure I stay on point.
Also, if you want, you can lock the chair. You got to push it in. You turn it.
Don't rock back.
It's up to you. I mean, obviously,
we're good. I'm definitely gonna. I better know what I'm doing. I talk to the microphones every day.
I know, but I mean, I also do the laptop thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's what I do.
You can just talk. You don't have to have the microphone because they're so good.
Oh yeah. Oh, because I'll use a mic. And I have the headphones because I'm, StreamYard, I'm looking at stuff.
Yeah.
So I've only done it once when I don't have the mic.
Okay.
It's just, I like having the mic in front of me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it sounds better. What are we doing?
We're good.
We're good? Mm-hmm. Okay. So.
Should have filmed all that. Did you film all that?
I filmed all that.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll probably put that in the back.
Yeah.
That's
some good B-roll right there. That's some good conversation. Everybody's going to be thinking, like, who was DL saying? I thought he was a nice guy, air traffic controller. He talking about bricks? What's going on?
Yeah, no, I got probably a couple TikToks from that, and then that will probably just be at the end of the interview.
That's what's up, man. And I'm a stand-up comedian, just so you guys know. Like, I'm air traffic controller by day, or stand-up comedian by night. Now that I'm retired, it's like I'm just, going hard with the stand-up thing and, just having fun with it.
Okay. Where do you?
Side Splitters. The Improv is down to Funny Bone. The Improv used to be in Ybor City. Yeah. Now it's the Funny Bone.
Oh, okay.
Still the same location, just switched over, whatever. And I do a lot of promoting our own shows. So we do every Tuesday this place called Status in Tampa. I'm looking for different venues. We're just working on making Tampa more viable for comedy.
Right.
Like, that's a whole nother, we have to come back and talk about comedy. That's like its own 2 hours. What the comedy world is like, because you could go to the Funny Bone and Side Splitters right now and say, hey, I've been doing comedy for 6 months, and they'll book you. You got 200,000 plus subscribers on this, you got it on that. I've been doing comedy for 20 years. They wouldn't even let me open for you.
Do you know who Kill Tony is?
Yeah, Tony Hinchcliffe. Yeah.
So I went to, because I didn't know who it was.
Yeah, I know him in person. I knew that's when I started in L.A. So Tony was one of the guys that was coming up when I was coming up.
I went to L.A. This was like 4 years ago.
All right.
Went to L.A. and I was doing a few different podcasts. And so my booking agent was like, hey, man, I got you on Kill Tony. I'm like, oh, okay, what's that? I'm thinking it's a podcast. Mm-hmm. And I go, well, what's that? He goes, it's a podcast. And I said, okay. He said, I said, oh, where? And he goes, yeah. He's like telling me about it. He said, yeah. He said, yeah. I said, okay, so what? I just show up? He goes, well, yeah, but you need to prepare something. I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, because you have to do like a minute of comedy. So you have to do a stand-up skit real quick. And is it for Kill Tony who does that?
It's a minute.
Yeah. And I went, what? And he goes, no, bro. I said, no, I don't. No, I can't do that. You have to talk to him. I can't do that. And he goes, no, you're funny. I said, no. I said, that's not. I said, being funny in a conversation is vastly different than preparing something funny. No, just tell a funny story. I said, in a minute?
Exactly.
I said, my stories require setup to be funny, and it's one little laugh. I said, people expect a lot from you. I said, that's not. Being funny isn't like you're a funny guy, standing on the block with your buddies. I said, it's a vastly different thing. And I had like 2 days. I was like, no, I can't do it. I can't do it. And he's like, no, but you're funny. I'm like, I don't, stop saying that. Listen, I've never been so nervous. So what happened is at the last minute, while he was trying to figure out when I had to be there, I got the same day I had a meeting with a producer and a director, and just so happens that he's like, okay, it's at 4 o'clock. I was like, I've never been so fucking thrilled. I was like, I can't do it at 4. Well, that's the only time. I said, oh, I'm so upset.
Got to sit down.
I already have the meeting. It was scheduled 2 hours ago. I'm sorry, there's nothing. Can you see if you can change it? No, that was the only time they could do it. Listen, I've never been so thrilled to be able to miss something in my life.
That's crazy as hell. 1 minute to do stand up is a setup in itself. 1 minute, it's a setup.
Yeah.
Even when I started the Comedy Store, I started at the Comedy Store doing their open mic. It's 3 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, nowadays they give you 5 minutes. And there's been some variants. Now people pay to actually do it, which is, I think is bullshit, but it is what it is. But 1 minute, and then Tony and his crew shits on you.
Right. That's what I've noticed, because when I was watching him, I was like, this guy had 1 minute. He got some chuckles. The crowd isn't worked up, they're not all worked up already. So you're supposed to come out and be hilarious. And then if you're even slightly not funny enough, these guys tear you apart. I was like, that's not gonna. Thank God I didn't do that.
Yeah. Yes, you didn't want to do that, and they kill dreams, bro. I mean, it is what it is, man. Like, I like it, man. This is great. I love the college, like talking to you, bro. I'm like, we're supposed to do a show. We're gonna mess around, and do 2 hours just talking shit.
You know whose show I did end up going on, a podcast? Brothers in Cursive.
I don't know if I know these dudes. I don't recognize those guys.
The one guy with the red beard. Listen, well, this guy's been at the Comedy Club a bunch of times. He's been on Danny's podcast. He's been on the Comedy Club. Both of these guys are. The guy who was running it was, they called him like Redbeard or Red something. I don't know. He used to work with Joe Rogan. I think he's one of the guys that started.
One of the Rogan dudes. Yeah, Rogan has a lot of guys, man. Joe Rogan's the real deal. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
He's just a real good guy. He loves comedy. You know what I mean? I was out there when he was doing the TV shows, when they was eating bugs and shit, whatever that TV show was.
Fear Factor.
Fear Factor. And he would come to the store and whatever and just be like, I can't believe these people are doing, I cannot believe these people are actually doing this shit. And he did good on that. And he had some drama with the Comedy Store with Carlos Mencia. That's when I was coming up in comedy, when Joe Rogan and had that fallout with Mencia, because he called Mencia out for stealing jokes, which is a huge thing, still goes on to this day. And Mencia was bold about it, bro. He was like, I'm going to take your shit. He would tell you, and then go up and do your shit right in front of you. Like, you're up next. Mencia's on stage doing your material. Right? And it's like, yo, it took me 5 years to develop that.
I think you'd walk up and somebody just walk up and smash them.
Well, that's Hollywood. You were out there. You know how the cool kids run that. You don't want to get blacklisted. You don't want to go. I would. I didn't, because I was in air traffic control to take my joke. If you want to, we're going to sit down. You're going to pay me for that. And if you don't, something going to happen.
Yeah.
Don't clip that. You know what I mean? But most people ain't like that. They ain't gangster like that. A couple comics are. But they go after the people they perceive as weak and not going to do anything, right? Carlos Mencia was notorious for that. They called him Carlos Manstelia. That was his nickname, right? Dane Cook was notorious for that. Dane Cook would take his shit. If you weren't careful, a lot of people didn't want to do their good stuff in front of Dane. So a bunch of people that was just steal jokes. And that sucks, bro. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It sucks. Like, one day we'll talk about it, man. The comedy game can be gangsters, cutthroat. You know, a lot of bullshit comes into that, man. Myron and Fresh were like always in the top 5 most super chatted podcasts on the planet. I think they're still up there, even though they're demonetized.
I was going to say, I'm shocked, because some of the content I would think YouTube would shut down. It's borderline Andrew Tate.
They ain't borderline Andrew Tate. I mean, that's they got. You know what I mean? Like, Tate launched from Fresh and Fit. Really, he did this. He went viral. It was like, what did he say? Depression isn't real, and that just took off. It was a good conversation. I didn't know who Andrew Tate was, and it took me a long time to even watch it. I saw the thumbnail forever, and I finally watched it. And I'm like, okay, I'm behind 80% of what this dude is saying, 85%. But then some of the stuff is like, oh man, I don't know about that, and it's past.
But I was gonna say, but you know what's funny is that. But I'll take. It's like going to church. I don't have to believe everything this dude's saying.
Nope.
I like this. I hear you here. I like that. I like that. But what I don't do is say, oh, you said this. That's it. I'm not talking to you. I don't believe anything you say. You're a lie. You're a scumbag. You're the. You believed me. You liked me all the way up to here. Right. So, okay, I disagree with you there, and that's fine. You can say that. That's your opinion. I mean, I don't want you to date my daughter.
Right.
But, other than that, that's fine. Like, I'm good with that. So
I'm the same way. Like, I'm cool, bro. Talk about whoever you want to talk about on the liberal side, on the conservative side. I don't care. I'm with you. I'm not going to just go off. Myron and Fresh are always in trouble. I don't know if you guys have been following what's going on over there, but they're in trouble again. Just as revolving around a woman who says that one of the guys got her pregnant. And, it's just, she's doing this big thing. And right away, I'm like, she's lying. And I could just tell, like, bro, I don't think she's telling the truth and blah, blah, blah. But hey, my man did something wrong. So I've been doing a lot of, the biggest video I've ever done, it was last night. Right after Fresh and Fit did this stream, Myron did it, Fresh wasn't there, to debunk this woman. And they went and got receipts from China. This woman was like a Chinese national. And bro, it was a great episode. I'm like, Jesus, they cooked her. You know what I mean? Like, they cooked her. And I went on right after. And all of the Fresh and Fit people who know me through them or whatever, they all came. And because I was trying to get my 150 subscribers back. I'm like, I'm down 150 subscribers. I'm going to get my 150 subscribers back. Bro, I looked at the video. As soon as I was done with it, I think I did 3 hours or something like that. I sat down for a second. I looked at it. Now, mind you, if I get 100 views on a video over a couple of days, I'm like, oh, man, I'm doing a little something. That's pretty cool. I sat down. It's like an hour. I already had like 300 and something views on this long form video. I'm like, yo. And then I woke up this morning. I think it was like 600 or 700 views. I'm like, oh, I think I just did it. I think that was the one that's gonna get the red pill guys. I'm over here now. They put the face with the name, like, oh, this is DL Saint. This is the keep leading from the front guy. They're there, and I'm like, okay, let's see what happens moving forward. So now I'm starting to get excited, and I couldn't sleep. I'm like, I gotta make sure I don't oversleep. You know what I mean? So we're here with this. So this is gonna help as well. But people love to hate those guys.
yeah,
Out of the 600 people who've watched the video, probably 300 of them hate Myron and Fresh, but they can't help but watch it. And people come in and they say things, and I'm like, look, man, I hear you. I wouldn't do that. I think he was wrong. I told him he was wrong. It is what it is. But she's wrong too, right?
Well,
So
I think it's kind of like also the problem with Andrew Tate is honestly unfortunately. Delivery is everything. Like, you really have to be able to pack it. Like you're saying the same thing that Jordan Jordan
Peterson.
You're saying a lot of your stuff you're saying is the same thing as Jordan Peterson, but he's polished. He says it where he's not trying to be offensive. You know what I'm saying? So, and yet you'll say like, not Fresh and Fit. Well, I mean, they may, but also I think that Andrew Tate says the same thing, but he says it in a very abusive way. He's very brass about how he says it. He's, in your face. And as a result, you've got people that are like, they won't listen to him because of the way he's saying it. Like, but if you just calm down a little bit and tried to be a little bit more understanding and got your message across, then you wouldn't have as much, you wouldn't have had all this stuff that's gone on.
Hey, bro, like, it is what it is. I'll say this, though. He's not running from it. He sat down and did his time. Those women sat down and did their time that little bit when they had him locked up. And all the women had to do, those two girls, is just say that, yeah, Andrew and his brother did this. They were going to let him go. Then when they sat there in a Romanian prison, they're like, nah, we ain't signing nothing. I'm like, bro, I would marry them women if I was the Tates. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't turn. Wow. But like I said, I met him in real life. If he was sitting here right now, cameras are off, bro, we just sitting around talking, it'd be a great conversation. It wouldn't be any of the bombastic stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He adjusts to the environment very well. And I will give him that. He's a cool guy. Like, it's fun to be around. But at the same time, it's like, oh, that's a real one right there. Like, if it go down, ain't no telling what he might do. You know what I mean?
You know what I like? I always love there was a conversation he was having with a guy, with somebody, and he said he was standing in line in London. Did you ever hear this?
That was on Fresh and Fit.
With the chick?
That was on Fresh and Fit.
And she's like, aren't you going to say anything? He's like, shut up. Like,
shut up.
And I totally, having done 13 years in prison, like, I know there are the guys, like, you can look at them and be like, and I know, and having gone through it, I know there are some things that are just worth swallowing your pride. Because in the end, it will be, the ramifications are you are never going to break even on this. Mm-mm. It's going to go so bad. So you know what? Suck it up, swallow your pride, and shut your fucking mouth. because this could possibly go. Maybe it won't, but if it does, it's going to go so bad you're going to regret saying anything.
Yeah, and that's not cowardice. That's just being smart.
I liked that he said that. And the other thing was, I'm not alone. I have you here.
I can't fight my way out of this.
Right. So what's going to happen? What happens with, like what happens if things go wrong, and what happens to you? What if they pull weapons out and they start shooting people randomly? Like, for what? Because I don't like what they're doing? Well, I don't like what they're doing, and it'll be over in 3 minutes, and we'll be able to get our food and go on.
Because they went to the front of the line. Stop it, baby.
Yeah.
No, we ain't doing that. You gotta get. I left my pistol in the car, but wherever I go, I keep my weapon on me. They're like, why? I'm like, because I'm in Florida. It's a right. Like, why wouldn't you have your weapon on you? And my background, like where I'm from. So I'm always armed. And sometimes I'll be with women who know that I'm armed, and I had to stop telling women because, like, well, you got your gun. I'm like, listen,
no.
What are you talking about? So what do you want me to do? You want me to pull out this pistol and start shooting? What if I miss? What if I hit some innocent people back there? What if they're not cutting the line? What if they ordered ahead and they're supposed to go up there and get that?
Yeah, I don't know exactly what's happening here. Like,
just because I got a pistol don't mean nothing, bro. Like, I'm sorry, man. No, I ain't doing. Man, we cool.
Yeah, this is last resort. You know what's funny? When I took because I had my concealed weapons permit.
I was going to ask you, would they allow you to do that?
No, not now. I can't.
I was about to say, I was like, bro.
Price just prior to prison. But one of the things that happens it's funny when you take that class. I remember prior to that, I was like, oh, I'm carrying everything everywhere. And I remember he was going around the room asking, why do you want one? Why you? And it's by the end of the class, and a lot of them were like, well, sometimes I'll go to the movies and it's in a bad neighborhood, but it's close to my house. I go and cars are getting broken into, boom, boom, boom. And he's like, where's the closest movie theater other than that? Oh, it's like 5 more miles. So it's like 5 more minutes away. Yeah. He's like, go to that one.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? And then he asked about a guy that was like, oh, well, I have a bunch of rental properties and I collect rent and it's a bad neighborhood. He said, don't ever bring your weapon to collect rent. Like, if that goes bad,
they're going to take your weapon and shoot you with it.
Yeah, even if you shoot them, I'm going to get money from you with my weapon. That can be intimidation. I'm not in danger. I'm not. You showed up at a place that you knew it could. So they start going through those things, and the more they talked, the more I thought, listen, prior to that, I was absolutely ready to bring that thing everywhere. After that, I don't think I ever carried the gun on me. Maybe once or twice.
Yeah, I take it everywhere with me. But I'm trained, and for me, it's.
But you're not taking it to go to a bad neighborhood. You just have it on you just as a
I stay out of the bad
thumb.
neighborhood. I stay out of bad neighborhoods.
But exactly. That's by the end of that thing, I realized he was like, don't go somewhere where you think you need a gun. He was saying what you're doing. Keep it on you. I'm not saying don't keep it on you. I'm saying don't ever think to yourself, I'm going to go here. It'll be okay. I have my gun. He said, don't go. If you think you need your gun to go there, don't go.
That's a rule of thumb. One of my buddies, we served together. He moved out here too from California. He's in Florida now. And he's just the black guy who grew up in the nice neighborhoods, grew up the way you're supposed to grow up. Mom and dad in the house, star basketball player, the whole nine. He joined the Army, became a paratrooper, and met me. And we talk about our different bubbles all the time. He's like, bro, you're from where you're from. And he's like, the way you see the world is completely different than the way I see the world. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, you're always getting on me. You get mad at me when I go to the hood to get barbecue because that's where the good food is. I'm like, yeah, but you in the hood. You're riding around the hood in your BMW 8 Series. What are you thinking? For some ribs? Are you kidding me?
That go bad.
Like, are you kidding me? You're a big dude, 6'4", black guy riding around. Because what it was, he came over and he told me the police stopped him or whatever, asked him some questions or whatever. He was getting his food or whatever. And like I said, we're always armed. Like, he's the same way. And he knows how to handle law enforcement. And he was like, look, the young cop was cool. There was an older cop, probably phasing out. He was like, I'm going to show you how this is done. And, my guy handled the situation or whatever. But I'm like, but had you gone to the rib shop over here in West Chase, the police wouldn't have no issues.
Right.
Why are you going over here in the hood to get some? And he's like, that's what I mean. He was like, your background, your experience. He's like, I never experienced all that. I'm like, you don't want to experience it, bro. I've seen so many situations that popped off just because somebody was in the right place at the wrong time. And it got ugly. And if you defend yourself, you might be in the wrong. Mm-hmm. Like you said, why you have a gun here? Why you you branching that firearm? Whatever. You never know how it's going to play out. And I'm like, nah, man, why? And let's say you are in the right and you stand your ground and you take someone's life in self-defense, right? You got to live with that, bro. You got to live with that.
Look at Wade. Wade shot a guy that attacked him in his own house with had a concealed weapons permit. Shot a guy in the house that attacked him. They arrested him. They tried to prosecute him. He's saying, Castle Law, he attacked me. I was in my house. I had this. I that. It still took about 2 years before they finally dropped the charges. He had to go to jail for a couple of days.
Here in Florida?
No, this was in
California. Sounded because that's what they do in Cali.
No, this is in South Carolina, where you think you get to shoot someone if they walk across your yard. You'd think they'd be okay with it. Yeah. But it was a new detective, first time on homicide. She trying to make a name for herself. I got this guy. The prosecutor was on board.
Yeah, like the prosecutor was on board with this?
No, but then when 2 years later, a new prosecutor came, looked at the case and was like, what are we doing?
Throw that out.
Yeah, threw it out. But he also spent $100,000 of his own money for lawyers and to have his own forensic people to go through and create because he's like, because what they said was not what happened.
Right.
And what they said the scene showed is not what the scene showed. Like they were saying like, oh, nothing's been knocked over. There's no bruises on him. There's no proof that there was a struggle. He's like, I got a bruise on my head. You can see the dent here. Stuff's knocked over here. Like, completely two different. They'll fucking skew it.
Brother Matthew, what do you mean they'll skew it? Those are the good guys. They wear the white hats. You talking about the prosecution? Talking about the police?
I'm saying the majority of the honestly, the majority of the time, I think that cops are prosecutors and cops. I think the majority of the time are decent people. But let me tell you, you've heard the term. It takes one drop of oil to kill 20,000 gallons, and that's it. And when it's funny too, I heard this the other day, and then we got to talk about Diddy. So, where the guy said, or it said, fuck, what was it? It said, if you have 100, if you have a police force of 100, and there's 3 bad cops, and there's three crooked cops, and the rest of the police force, gets rid of them. Right? They fire them and get rid of them. They said you had 3 bad cops. They said if there's 100 people in the police force and there's 3 bad cops and the other cops do nothing, you have 100 bad cops.
Yep.
That's a problem because good cops don't want to say anything about bad cops. Now, the way it was written, it was more eloquent than I just said it. But when you heard it, it was like, whoa! Like the way they said it, I was like, wow! Like that's obviously I thought that anyway. But the way he put it, I was like, that's a great fucking that was a great.
That's not new to us, bro. We just know that. And people like, oh, you come from these, well, it's because you're black. I'm like, nah, I think it's more because of where we are financially. You know what I mean? What's going on in the hood is the same as the barrio. It's the same as the trailer park when it comes to law enforcement, bro. It's us and them. That's how police look at it. So if you do have these heavy-handed bad cops, they can spoil the whole bunch. But now they got cameras. And you see these guys are jumping ship left and right. So I think there's an opportunity for law enforcement in America to get better. But until they start paying cops, paying law enforcement at least $100,000 a year and having like real training, like serious training and ongoing recurrency training, the law enforcement should be at a minimum the level of Army or Marine Corps Army basic training. Not Navy, not Air Force, but Marine Corps Army basic training. Law enforcement should have at least that minimum amount of training and standards. Until we reach that point, we're going to always have problems with law enforcement. You got some kid out here who's making $20 an hour, you give him a badge and a gun, bro, and he ain't never been punched in his mouth before, and you put him in the hood. That's never going to end well. It's never going to end well, bro. Right. And it's nothing to do with race. It's all about him just being poorly trained and put in a terrible situation. The guy with the acorn falling on a cop car and they empty their weapons into the police car. Have you seen this?
Yeah, I heard something about it. I didn't see it,
That guy should never be allowed to be a police officer. But they let him quit. They didn't fire him, and he can go to another PD somewhere, and he can get hired and then get trained or whatever and still be on the force. That should never happen. There's so many things they need to do because I talk about law enforcement. And people are like, man, you probably just hate cops because of your background. I'm like, I understood the game when we was coming up. The police understood the game. There was an understanding. Right, but there was some bad cops. Everybody got a bad cop, a legendary bad cop. In Cincinnati, was a dude called RoboCop. I hope you're dead, RoboCop. That's how bad this dude was. The worst of the worst. Not like your guy who was like the GOAT of bad cops in New York. He had to be an absolute horror. I'm gonna go back and find that episode and watch it. But Everyone has some cop that they grew up with and they knew that was the bad dude. He wanted to knock heads or whatever. The guy that's going to plant evidence, the guy that's going to set you up. And the thing that gets me is the prosecution will go right along with these dudes and they know that they're bad. And they're putting people away for crimes that they know they didn't commit. One of my biggest problems with Kamala Harris, people like, a lot of folks don't like Kamala Harris. Most people don't have a reason. They're like, so why don't you like Kamala Harris? She was a prosecutor. I don't like prosecutors, bro. I'm just keeping it 100. I just don't like prosecutors. I'm pretty sure you have your views, but I don't like prosecutors. Just what they do and the political side to it and all that. And when Kamala Harris initiated that law that would target parents, it would lock parents up if their kids didn't go to school. Who is that going to affect? Is that going to affect the people in the Beverly Hills, Bel Air, and all the nice neighborhoods? Hell no. That's going to affect the people in the hood, the people at the bottom. So you go to work for 18 hours. You think little Billy or little Susie went to school and they didn't. And now the police can lock you up for that. And if they take you into custody on a Friday, when you getting out?
Yeah.
Right?
You're lucky Monday.
If you lucky on Monday. Right? And it's like, bro, you missing that work. You working through the weekend. You missing that work. You get fired. Now you can't pay your rent. You can't pay your bills. You can't pay this. You can't pay that. All because Kamala Harris wanted to make a political statement. We're tough on education. And the kids still can't name what country they live in. Come on, man. Like, I don't like that. That's why I don't like Kamala Harris. I think she's a nice person. I've seen her interviews on Breakfast Club, and she seemed real cool. She was at Freaknik. I was at Freaknik. Hell, me and Kamala might have did something. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But the whole point is this. You can't do that and hurt society and think no one's going to come talk to you about it later. You know what I mean? Hillary Clinton called me and the people in my generation super predators. And now she got mad later on when the super predators who were all grown up now was like, hey, man, go F yourself. You called us super predators. You tried to lock us up forever. Biden did it. You know what I mean? With the, got hard on crime and all that. But yeah, it was the black community saying that they want something done, but it was the Clintons and it was Biden who made it happen. And who paid for it?
Clinton built more prisons than any president in history.
System of the Down, boy, they trying to build a prison. You ever heard that song? Mm-hmm. System of the Down? You ever heard that song, System of the Down? Look it up. They trying to build a prison. And there's like the hook goes, they trying to build a prison for you and me. You know what I mean? He talks about like the prison industrial complex or whatever. Listen to that song. It's System of the Down is a rock and roll band, heavy metal band out of California. They're Armenian descent, American, but Armenian Americans. It's 3 guys, man, or 4 guys. Man, they go crazy, man. You've heard their songs
I've
before.
heard System Down. I know who that is.
They're trying to build a prison, bro.
What was that?
A click?
Oh.
That was you?
I've heard that a couple times. I thought it was the camera shutting off.
No, I do need to start them back up.
Oh, I thought we was going. That's why we was going.
No.
Did you get that? Okay.
I'll probably put all that. If I split into 2, I'll put all that in the.
Yeah, we could go for a whole 2, man. Just we need to go to 2:00 or 2:30, or what do we need to do? We're just going. Cool. We can.
I'm ready. We can talk about. You can explain to explain. God, all these people. Let me just hold on. No.
I love when people talk to themselves. They doing shit like, bro, we see you. You sound crazy as hell right now.
I'm doing a podcast right now, but do not bring those home! Exclamation point. Yeah.
What do you got?
No furniture, comma, no dogs, comma, no pets, comma, no lizards, nothing. Do not bring anything home, period, including pizza and ice cream, period. I gotta go, period. Yeah, she's just, what I'm dealing with. I'm lucky. I'm amazed that I haven't gotten a fucking dog this whole time.
This year you just ain't seen
so
it.
bad, huh?
This year you just ain't seen it. She's got it hidden somewhere.
Listen, the moment we get a place, I know she's gonna come home with a dog.
You know how it's gonna look. It's beautiful, right? Look, just so beautiful.
Well, it's but I'm the one who's gonna have to take care of the dog because she's gone. So I have a little dog here. You could just put him in the garage when you're no. Then no.
All that like what is that noise? Cut. You got to go out here and find the dog.
So we're here. We're talking about what I know, or who I know as P. Diddy.
Sean Combs.
Oh, okay.
That's the government name. Sean Combs.
His government name.
Sean P. Diddy Combs.
I would be in prison with guys, and I'd be like, hey Williams. They'd be like, Dan Cox, don't be calling me by my government name. Man, that,
You know I'm Tex.
these guys. And I would try, it's funny too, because I try and be cool, right? Like I get to know guys and I'd walk by and they go, yo, Cox, what's up? I go, I can't call it. They go, "Whoa, stop. Don't try. I know you're, no, it was natural. It felt, he's like, I said, it felt natural. He's, I know you sound even more white when you try and sound black. Like, don't, or do you remember the term off the muscle?
Nah.
You don't remember off the muscle?
That's in-house term right there, man. Enlighten me. Enlighten me, bro.
It's like saying, I said, shit, I did that off the muscle. That means like just, off the cuff.
Reflex, off the cuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, they was like, Cox, I don't, I know you're trying, and I know you're trying to connect.
Off the muscle? Where were you sitting down there? Down here? Were you in Florida?
This was in Coleman when I first got there. That was a saying for a while.
That's got to be a thing. I must be a Florida thing, bro. Everybody got their own little slang. Off the muscle? All right.
Listen, I never got a cool prison nickname.
You just Cox? That's cool enough.
Cox. I tried to push Chainsaw. And I've mentioned this a few times.
That's the white boy coming out in here right there. Call me Chainsaw.
Yeah, call me. Yeah, I was like, what's so funny is like when I literally went from like the medium prison to the low, and guys like, yo, what do they call you? I go, Chainsaw. They bet.
They don't.
Listen, nobody calls you Chainsaw, bro. Look at you. You're as soft as cotton. You ain't Chainsaw. Come on, man, stop it. They go, you Chainsaw for someone who's dangerous. I go, shit, ask Bank of America if I'm dangerous. They'd be like, what? Like they're like, Bank of America, motherfucker, what you here for?
And they hear the story, like, all right.
I'm here for bank fraud. And they go, bank? Oh, damn. What?
You should have said, they call me C Boogie. You should have tried to do that one. They call me C Boogie.
There's a guy they called 21. They called him 21. And you go, 21. Why do they call you 21? Because the 21 bodies on my case. You're going to be 22. You keep that. All right, stop. Enough with that. Yeah.
That's for 21 Jump Street, the fake cop. That's what he is. 21 Jump Street up in here.
So listen, I remember, all I know of P. Diddy is the name P. Diddy, and I knew he was a rapper, but I couldn't tell you anything he sang or did. And then as soon as all this stuff happened, recently in the last couple of weeks, everybody's coming out. Now there's all these videos, and apparently, like